Majority Report with Sam Seder.
The destiny of America is always safer in the hands of the people than in the conference rooms of any elite.
Sam Seder.
They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
Ever get the feeling you've been cheated?
It is Wednesday, January 14th, 2026. My name is Sam Seder. This is the five-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, Dania Munez, nurse practitioner at Mount Sinai Main Hospital, on the largest nurses' strike in New York City history. It's taking place now. Then Ken Klippenstein, independent journalist covering security and U.S. politics and publisher of the Clip News on Substack, on, well, array of things, not just the National Security Presidential Memorandum 7, but also on reports that ICE is having a morale problem, in addition to a fascism problem. Also on the program today, Washington Post reporter's home raided in an investigation into White House leaks. Meanwhile, as ICE becomes even more vicious in its assault on Minnesota, now a total of 6 federal prosecutors resign because of the government's failure to investigate the killer of Renee Good. Meanwhile, in D.C., government shutdown 6 days away. The Congressional Progressive Caucus says no votes for DHS funding without some strings. Yet in the Senate, they quiver. Whistleblower drops the largest ever ICE leak in wake of the Renee Good killing. Just a reminder to ICE agents, your names are out there and we will find them. We will remember. Avowed white supremacist returns to the Dallas Immigration Court. Literally a guy caught writing stuff like Hitler was great, white people rule, immigrants are all dirty and should be kicked out. All immigrants. Trump regime shuts down the San Francisco Immigration Court, making it impossible to adjudicate over 120,000 immigration cases. Some speculating this is a foreshadowing of a non-judicial deportation regime. Initial ACA numbers are in. 1.4 million people have lost their health insurance. White House renews its threat against Greenland. Good news, New York Governor Kathy Hochul endorses legislation to allow New Yorkers to sue ICE for civil rights violations. And good news for China, China announces a record trade surplus. Imagine that. And Minneapolis unions and community groups call for a general strike on January 23rd in that state. All this and more on today's Majority Report. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us. It is, as Emma Vigeland would say, if she wasn't off today, hump day. But it is hump day regardless.
Feels like it should be Friday.
It feels like it should be Friday, and it feels like it should be like close to Friday in late April? December of 2026. Nevertheless, we're here. Thanks for joining us. Zane, I am special update from this morning's ICE raids. They've added bashed up blockade cars to their convoys after running them out of 5 locations. An ICE agent in a crap box, busted up Acura, tried to smash me to keep me from following out a parking lot. Oh, interesting. This is just going to get more and more aggressive. We've seen the rate in which this is increasing. We will talk about this obviously more in the fun half, but you should know, one of the reasons why we're talking to it's regular practice around here on Wednesdays to be talking to union folk, labor folk, people who are involved in organizing or in striking or whatnot. But the value of the the largest New York City nurses strike in history is not just in what's going to come out of it for the nurses, but this is at a time when building community relationships, networking, regardless of what it's about, is increasingly important. If you live in a building, an apartment building, get to know your neighbors. Find a problem that exists and organize around that. Even if it's like, there's too much clanging on the pipes. Even if it's something you don't think that you're going to be able to fix, because it's important that you know their names and they know your names. And you have a sense of what's going on in their lives, and they have a sense of what's going on in your lives to some point, because down the road, we're watching this right now in Minnesota, the ability to react to what's going on there is a direct function in what kind of relationships people have in their neighborhoods, what kind of relationships people have in their community, etc. So they're coming to a town near you. So,
and it really goes from like labor unions and DSA down to like running clubs that have been together, whatever like sort of social linkages you can make. Now's the time to make them.
Coffee clatches, book clubs, tenant organizing, anything you can do to just increase your social network now is very important. All right, let's compare and contrast, though, shall we? The President of the United States, we should start with this one. As I said, we're going to be talking to a nurse practitioner at Mount Sinai Main Hospital on strike. Yesterday, the strike started. Was it? Yeah, no, I guess it was Monday, 2 days ago. And there was no quibbling. There was no debating. There was no questioning. What kind of support are they going to get from the political leadership in this city? You did not have time to ask that question because it was already answered within the first hours of the strike. Here is the new mayor of New York City putting on his soft shoes and out in front in this picket line.
How we doing, everyone? Yeah! At every one of our city's darkest periods, nurses showed up to work. Yeah! Their value is not negotiable, and their worth is not up for debate. We know that during 9/11, it was nurses that tended to the wounded. Woo! We know that during the global pandemic, it was nurses that came into work even at the expense of their own health. They showed up even when we didn't have protective equipment for them. They showed up even as others were staying home. Bottom line, they showed up. The CEO of New York Presby, where we are today, made $26 million last year. But for too many of the 15,000 NYSDA nurses who are on strike, they are not able to make their ends meet. They are not asking for a multi-billion-dollar salary. What they are asking for is for their pensions to be safeguarded, to be protected in their own workplace, to receive the pay and the health benefits that they deserve. New Yorkers have a right to quality health care, as do the nurses who provide that care. My job as mayor is to protect both of those rights.
There he is out on the streets. And the footage after him walking, like leaving the strike was nuts. I mean, aside from the hundreds, if not thousands, of nurses who are on these picket lines screaming, supportive things to him. People are getting out of their cars. People are rolling down their windows, waving. He's having to walk through the traffic because they can't. They're just going to get. He's not going to be able to move 3 feet on the sidewalk because people are so excited about this guy.
Yeah, people love me like that too.
Well, that's an interesting point, Matt, that you bring up, because Donald Trump also took a visit amongst the people the other day. He visited a Ford plant. Where was this? In Detroit. He's traveling. I don't know if he's traveling around with Tony Dokupool, because Tony Dokupool really wants to see all the, they've committed to, they're not going to just do the elites. They're going to talk to real people, although he's talked to almost exclusively Venezuelan leader. It's almost exclusively everyone he's interviewed. But I don't think Dokapol was here. Donald Trump was touring the plant, and bless his heart, he was willing to be within 30 or 40 feet of the unwashed, the people who work in the plant. And they were down in the, what was it that they called it? Like where in Shakespeare, where they would put them in the,
round?
The round is but they're in the pit, essentially. The wealthy patrons had seats, but then everybody else has to sit in this dirt pit.
Stand and look up at us.
Exactly. And so everybody's there and he's walking across. It's a very serene thing. And then of course the problem is that he's getting booed and heckled by the workers because they realize he's a douche. And one of them had the audacity, simply because he has done everything in his power as president of the United States to protect the legacy of one of the most infamous child predators and child sex traffickers, Jeffrey Epstein. One of the workers had the audacity to call him a pedophile protector. Accurate.
I had him killed. What are you talking about?
Yeah, might even be.
I didn't protect him at all. He's dead now.
Might even be an understatement for what Trump said.
But I don't know if you can read lips. But what Trump says to them.
I think he's telling him to vacuum.
You can read hands. If you can read hands and fingers, you might be able to get the message too.
Here it is. Oh.
So just keep this up just so we can go in the slow-mo here. So pedophile protector points to the guy, says
F you.
F you, F you, and then just in case you didn't get it, there's Mr. President.
There's
there.
tiny fingers.
That is
Trump.
a small little middle finger.
Small middle finger.
That is a tiny finger. I mean, I don't know. I don't have the longest fingers either, so I wouldn't. And there's nothing to be made from that. But Donald Trump, I don't know. It feels a little defensive.
I think the whole populist, pro-worker Republican Party might be done.
Really? So much fun while they were here.
Shout out TJ Sabula, 40-year-old auto workers, local 600 line worker, who made that and said, as far as calling him out, definitely no regrets, but there are GoFundMes for the guy because there's probably going to be some kind of retaliation. Hopefully not, but yeah.
He's raised $317,000.
Wow. I mean, I'm not surprised. In a moment, we're going to be talking to Dania Munoz, nurse practitioner at Mount Sinai Main Hospital. But first, a word from our sponsor today. Delete Me makes it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online when a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everyone vulnerable. This is one of those products that I was using years and years and years before they became a sponsor of the program. For obvious reasons, in my case, I don't want my public information to be loosey-goosey out there. because, well, I mean, for obvious reasons. And they have gotten more obvious in this era. Back when I started doing this, I don't think people were selling. You could get your people's information online back in the early aughts, but there was always a fear of people tracking you down, and this is a great way to protect yourself. Also, really important, like phishing attempts have gotten much more sophisticated. They'll take information that they find on the dark web, or they'll take the information they simply buy from a broker. That's your email address, your relatives' names, your addresses, where you've lived, your phone numbers, and this and that, and try and fake you out. And sometimes what they can do is also combine that with information they buy on the dark web and wreak all sorts of havoc on your identity, whatever it is. As you know, it's easier than ever to find personal information about people online. Having your address, phone number, and family members' names hanging out on the internet can have actual consequences in the real world. It makes everyone vulnerable. More and more online partisans and nefarious actors will find this data and use it to target political rivals, civil servants, and even outspoken citizens posting their opinions online. With Delete Me, you can protect your personal privacy or the privacy of your business from doxing attacks before sensitive information can be exploited. Thanks to Delete Me for sponsoring this episode of the Majority Report and frankly, just for their product. Take control of your data. Keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me. Now at a special discount for our audience, get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/majority. Use the promo code majority at checkout. The only way to get 20% off, go to joindeleteme.com/majority. Enter the code majority at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/majority. Code is majority. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking to Dania Munoz. We are back. Sam Seder on the Majority Report. Emma Vigeland is out today. A pleasure to welcome to the program Dania Munoz. She's a nurse practitioner at Mount Sinai Main Hospital. She's in a bus, which they're using both for, as people cycle in to keep warm and to make calls like this one as they start to talk to the press. Dania, welcome to the program. I got to tell you, just so there's no conflict of interest here, I was born in that hospital, I believe. It was quite some time ago, probably before, certainly before you were a nurse, probably before you were born. But nevertheless, thanks for joining us. There are 14,000 New York State nurses or part of the New York State Nursing Association on strike. Give us the background. Why is this strike happening?
Yeah, so the strike is happening because right now the hospitals are, in a sense, holding our healthcare hostage. They're saying that everything, all our economic demands would be tied to our healthcare. They want to make cuts to the current health insurance that we have, and that's something that we are not going to stand for. These cuts would basically trickle down and affect 44,000 of our members, not just the people who are negotiating right now, but also people who would potentially be negotiating contracts later on in the next couple of years. And the other things that we're fighting for also workplace safety. We want to make sure that there's weapons detections and also enough security in our entrances, and we want behavioral health techs to be able to de-escalate when we have patients who can become combative. There's a lot of workplace violence that happens. Nurses are getting injured on the job in regards to getting kicked and punched by patients and sometimes family members. So we want to be able to have people de-escalate these situations and not necessarily have security involved. Patient safety is also one of the essential things that we're asking for, and that would mean having enough nurses for the number of patients that we have. We last time we were able to win very strong language to hold management accountable. We were able to hire 1,000+ nurses because of the things that we won in our last contract. They're trying to take that language back as well and make it harder for us to hire and retain nurses. Also, respect is one of the biggest things. They terminated 3 of our nurses the night before the strike. They've been basically trying to silence us for speaking up in regards to our union and the things that we're doing and what we're working towards. So there's a lot of things that are happening and a lot of things that we're fighting for.
And give us a sense of like the hospitals and what kind of hospitals are we dealing with? Are we dealing with nonprofits? Are we dealing with, and we should say, some people make a lot of money at these nonprofit hospitals, but private hospitals, like what is going on in the sort of the broader sort of like hospital landscape? What kind of hospitals do your members work at?
So they are private hospitals, but they're also, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, nonprofit hospitals. We're talking about like New York Presbyterian Hospital. We're talking about Mount Sinai Main Hospital, even Montefiore in the Bronx. But from my understanding, New York Presbyterian and Mount Sinai are the ones that are really trying to make the cuts to our healthcare fund, and that's what's basically going to trickle down and affect other members because they're on the board. Like these people are like board members. These people are like board members, and they're basically, like I said, the ones responsible right now to kind of like negotiate our healthcare funds. And because we're in negotiations, it's like different things happening all at once. But because we're in negotiations for our contract, they're telling us that they won't be able to sign off on the healthcare rates for the next 3 years because last time it cost them too much money, and that's something that they're not willing to do again. So like I said, the health insurance is a very big problem. Like nurses need health care. As we know, last time with the COVID pandemic, a lot of nurses got sick, they lost their lives. So healthcare is one of those things that are non-negotiable for us.
How long have you guys been in negotiations? Like, I mean, how long, why strike now?
So we've actually been in negotiations since October. And honestly, a lot of these issues that we are presenting at the table are things that we have discussed prior to October in our monthly like labor management meetings where we talk to management and we tell them the needs of the nurses. And that's where we escalate issues. So like the workplace violence thing are stuff that we've talked about for many, many years. But in regards to negotiating this year, we started our negotiations in October. Some tables started as early as August. And it is not a surprise to Mount Sinai that we negotiate every 3 years. The union has been here for many, many years, I believe more than 40 years. So this is just part of what we do. It only has been since the last contract that we did go on strike. And even prior to going on strike, we were trying to negotiate with management, telling them our demands. They kept calling them voluminous and preposterous and saying that we were asking for too many things. But we're still going to continue to advocate for our needs. The strike, we didn't want to have to strike, but they left us no choice. And even today, they have yet to reach out and say that they're willing to negotiate with us. We are ready to talk to them, meet them at the table. We haven't heard from them. New York Presbyterian yesterday was supposed to meet with their nurses, and they canceled on them last minute. So these hospitals don't seem to want to have conversations with us when we are ready to talk about it. And it seems like they're, again, continuing to tie it back to healthcare, saying it's too expensive, and that unless we're willing to take cuts, it seems like they don't want to even speak to us about anything else.
I mean, it sounds like almost like they've goaded you guys into striking.
Honestly, that's really what it feels like. We didn't learn about the health insurance cuts until I believe Saturday or Sunday of this past week, and they didn't even tell us that the healthcare was going to be such an issue up until maybe like 2 weeks before our contracts expired. And just to add more fuel to the fire, they were forcing us to train our replacement through these travel nurses. The hospital saying that they don't have enough money to pay us, and then here they are hiring travel nurses that they're paying $8,000 to $10,000 a week. And if we do the math and they're paying them $8,000 a week, if they hire 1,500 nurses, that's $12 million in a week. $12 million they can choose to invest in us, in our healthcare, and in hiring more nurses to retain patients, not just during a strike, but also every single day when it matters.
Let's talk a little bit about this traveling nurses thing, because this became a very big thing in the wake of COVID. We've talked to a lot of different nurses on strikes in various places around the country. But this traveling nurses thing, it's basically like they're scabs. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's just the description. But they are used to break unions. I mean, this feels like this is an attempt for these hospitals to really try and undermine the unions here, as opposed to like we're negotiating stuff. What's your sense of that, and how successful have they been? I mean, look, that's a lot of money. And if I'm a traveling nurse and this is what I've been doing, and I got to travel 6 to 8 months out of the year or something to find work, I may take that job, particularly in this economy. Now, we should say healthcare is a burgeoning business because we're just an aging population. But give me your sense of like how successful you think they've been in hiring these scabs, and just what the union strategy is going forward to deal with this.
I mean, I think you definitely hit it right on the head. It is a way to union bust. They've been union busting since the beginning. Like I said, have been trying to silence our nurses. They've been giving people who have never had anything on their record final warnings. They suspended one of our nurses early on while we started this campaign in negotiations. And like I said, they terminated 3 of our nurses the night before the strike. So it's just like any single time that we're trying to raise our voice and advocate, they're pushing back. When it comes to the travel nurses, we did send them a review for information. So the union sent them a review for information when they were hiring the travel nurses. Mind you, they hired a lot of them before we even dropped our strike notice, which is something that should not be done. They have 10 days to prepare once we drop our strike notice. They were hiring travel nurses way before then. We asked them for a review information to see who are the nurses they were hiring, what were their qualifications, what was their reasoning for being there. Because we knew that it was probably in preparations for the strike, but they never admitted that. We did not receive any information back in regards to that. And then we sent them a cease and desist to tell them that they needed to stop hiring these nurses, and also that we shouldn't be the ones to train these nurses because these are our replacements. And obviously, if we're training them, then it's going to be harder for us to come in afterwards. And what does that mean in regards to our job security, right? So we did all of these things, no response from management. And I understand, everyone needs a job. You see these contracts, it's a lot of money, but you're right, it definitely undermines the movement. And the movement here is to make sure that we can have a, fair living, fair wages, healthcare, safety, all of these things. And another thing I will say, even the governor and her executive order undermines the movement. It undermines the nurses. It undermines patients. Her putting out that anybody could come here and basically practice and making this a crisis. It's not a crisis. Who's responsible for this are the executives, the hospital executives making millions of dollars, and Governor Hochul is basically helping them by basically saying it's a state of emergency. Anybody with a license can come, and that's not just for nurses. That's for doctors. It's for nurse practitioners, PAs, and what we need is our government to back us and put pressure on the CEOs, the 1%ers that basically have caused us working people to be here scrambling and taking what I keep telling people, crumbs, when what we deserve is so much more, and again, it's just undermining the cause, and this is going to trickle down to everybody else. If we don't have health care and we know the cuts are coming, everybody else is going to be affected by this as well.
So wait a second. So Hochul signed an executive order basically opening the floodgates to these scab workers. I mean, again, if it's a pejorative, it's only because of that's what they're doing. I don't mean it as a pejorative, but it's the best way to describe it. When you're coming in, undermining union workers and undermining, labor solidarity, you're a scab. So Hochul is basically put up a sign open for business when it comes to people from around the country. So do these these different hospitals? I mean, New York Presbyterian, the guy's making $24 million a year as the CEO of a not-for-profit. It seems profitable for him, I have to say. But are these different hospitals? And I know Mount Sinai is also a not-for-profit, and I think their CEO makes a very humble $6-7 million a year. Maybe we'll get to just sort of New York Presbyterian's job can't be that much more difficult than the Mount Sinai Hospital job, so I don't know how there's a 5 times disparity on their pay, but it sort of puts a lie to the idea of the CEO has to make 100, 200, 500 times more what a nurse makes because what they're doing is so great. I mean, you wouldn't see that argument between those two CEOs, but putting that aside for a moment, how do they negotiate? Are they part of a New York City Hospital Association that's supposed to, or are you negotiating with each different administration?
So each table is negotiating with their HR and labor relations committee, the CNOs, which is the nursing officers, the chief nursing officers there. And then there are lawyers that are hired by the hospitals and then there's one specific group in our table called the League of Voluntary Hospitals, and it seems like they've been talking to other hospitals. So at Mount Sinai we have them, and they're also on the trustees. So it's just it feels sometimes like a bit of a conflict of interest if these people are the same ones who are setting rates or who know about the rates that are being set for our health plan and our pension and things like that. But yes, the CEOs don't come to our tables. I haven't seen my CEO at our table during negotiations. We're NYP, I don't think they've seen their CEOs. We've actually marched to our CEO's office and tried to deliver our strike notice to our CEO. He did not meet us or greet us. So these people who are putting out all of this information, they've been sending emails to our to the people inside the building about what's happening with the nurses and the strike. I don't know if they actually know what's actually happening. Because I haven't seen them at our tables, to be honest.
Give me a sense of so if I understand you correctly, you have people who are sitting on these sort of board of trustees that I guess are representing the hospital's interests, broadly speaking. They're also people who work in the business of setting the rates for the healthcare that
That's understanding.
They are saying has become too expensive, so they have to cut back on it.
Exactly. It doesn't make any sense. And then again, they want to charge it.
It doesn't make any
to the
sense
working
from your
couple.
perspective, but from their perspective, they're having their cake and eating it too. And then literally then taking even more cake home and eating that as well. Give me a sense of putting aside from what they're looking to cut from you guys. New York City, like the rest of the country, has gotten progressively more expensive. Particularly, obviously, rents. I mean, Mamdani gets elected. with the argument that New York City needs to be made more affordable. How are nurses doing with, just in general, the cost of living lately? I'm just curious from your perspective, how many years have you been nursing?
I've been a nurse since 2018. So what is it,
Okay,
8
so
years
you've been
now?
doing this for almost 8 years now. Has it become, I mean, how, give us a sense of like the level of difficulty it is with the cost of living these days.
I mean, I think everyone knows inflation is such a problem. Like it just sometimes you go to the grocery store, the eggs are $8, the eggs are $3. Like everyone is trying to deal with it and keep up with it. And as you said yourself, rent is expensive. All of these buildings being built in the city and they're affordable to some, but not to all. It affects every single one of us. And I mean, kind of like what you're saying, like if we're trying to make New York City more affordable, who are we making it more affordable for? And hopefully our mayor will be able to make a difference because things are expensive and everyone is struggling just to make ends meet, and nurses too. What I will say is the nurses on strike right now are not getting a paycheck. We are here and we are outside. It is cold. We're not getting a paycheck. People are telling me, how long is this going to last? I have to pay my mortgage. I'm here because this is important. I have to pay rent. There's people on the line who are pregnant, who have a lot of comorbidities. We don't have health insurance right now. The people on strike are out here because it matters and because they care. So we really need the hospitals to come to the table, negotiate with us in good faith, and meet our demands when it comes to healthcare. And they don't even want to sign off on their pensions. They have the rates for the pension for the next 3 years. They don't want to sign off on it. It's just it seems like they just don't want to negotiate. And again, things are expensive. We're also being affected by that as well.
Give us a sense of what folks can do to help support you.
We are encouraging people to come join us on the picket line, but we're also encouraging people to call Governor Hochul, tell her to be on the right side of history here, tell her to put pressure on the CEOs and the hospital executives that tell them to give us our health insurance. We want to go back in there and take care of our patients. The community is supporting us. We have patients that stop by after their visits and they're like, we're with you guys. The community is with us. We need our officials, our government officials to stand with us. A lot of our senators stopped by today. Assemblymen and women are stopping by, but we know where the pressure needs to be. It has to be in Albany. Governor Hochul needs to come down here. She needs to make sure that these hospitals are doing right by her New Yorkers, and we are her New Yorkers, not the top 1%.
And people should note, I mean, this executive order she's doing, I mean, clearly, I mean, this is the thing, is that government puts its finger on these scales one way or another every single time. There is no such thing as a government that exists that doesn't pick winners and losers. And the question is, who are they picking? And it feels like right now, Hochul, in the context of this fight, is picking the hospital management. If she's opening the door for scab workers and, putting up decorations for them to come, essentially, I mean, that's where she's landing. So people should contact her, email, call, whatnot, because this is she's made a decision on whose side she's going to be on in this instance.
Yes.
Where else can people get information? Is there websites where, if people want to come down and support you guys as you're striking, or bring you a pizza or something like that, where should they go?
Yeah, that's so sweet. People have just been coming to the picket lines and just handing us food and handing us different things. There's different picket lines. There's one at New York Presbyterian Hospital, both the Allen Hospital and their campus on 168th Street. Mont, if you're in the Bronx as well, has different picket stations. Morningside and West, which is our siblings on the west side, you can stop by there. We're there from 7 to 5 every single day, asking them to come to the table to negotiate fairly, so you guys can stop by and support us in that manner. Also, we do have our NYSNA website, NYSNA.org, where you can find information, and they have been very present on social media. So the NYSNA Instagram and the NYSNA Facebook page, you can see more about the movement and the things that we're doing and the progress that we're making.
Great. Is there a strike fund that people can donate to?
There is a strike fund, yes. we can get you that information after the show. I don't have it with me right now, but there's not a strike fund. There is a hardship fund. There's a hardship fund for people who right now, can't afford to be on the strike lines, but want to be. But yes, we're taking donations. So definitely, we'll put you in touch with the people so that you guys can send that to everybody.
Okay, great. And we will put those links on our podcast and YouTube description. Donnie Munoz, thank you so much for your time today, and good luck, and stay warm.
Thank you so much, Sam. Take care. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Ken Klippenstein. And again, we will put those links. So if you want to support these folks, I mean, even just walking down there and taking a couple of passes on a picket line. I remember during the SAG strike, the amount, after you've been out there for a couple of hours, the amount of energy and joy you get from just somebody coming by and honking their horn a bunch of times is a lot more than one would think.
I mean, the reassurance, it's sort of like, people you hear when that couple decided to stand up to ICE with that delivery driver in their basement, the whistles of their neighbors, I think, heartened them and gives courage. And here's this New York State Nurses Association. They got a bunch of links here, including this hardship fund here. So we'll include this in the show notes.
And nurses are always on the sort of like I want to say the sort of the front, they're the tip of the spear a lot of times when it comes to like union activity. Nurses, teachers, just from my experience are, and part of that is because they have a direct relationship with the public in that they serve the public, right? Like, teachers have relationships with their kids and with their kids' parents. And nurses have relationships with their patients and their patients' families. And so they're very, very connected to the community. And so get out there, support them in the way you can, and call Kathy Hochul's office in New York State. We'll put a phone number and an email address and just say, like, stop siding with hospital management in this.
Reminder that she works for Zoran now.
Exactly. May not want to phrase it that way, but
maybe someone else can take another pass at this.
Exactly. We'll let Matt do that on Twitter. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Ken Klippenstein, independent journalist, publisher of Clip News, I should say, on Substack, with a bunch of different stories. He just published a piece about 21 secret ICE programs revealed. We'll talk to him about that. We'll be right back. We are back. Sam Seder on the Majority Report. Emma Vigeland is out today. It is a pleasure to welcome back to the program Ken Klippenstein, who has been doing just amazing work over at Clip News, his Substack, in uncovering the programmatic the programmatic machinations of rolling out this fascism in this country. I mean, I don't know how else to articulate it. Like, we see on the ground these jackbooted thugs, but in the between there and the administration, it is backfilled with would-be laws, and this is the sort of the scary shit when fascism comes to town. What they do is try and make everything fit within a so-called legal framework, and that's what they've been doing. And nobody's been reporting on it better than you, Ken, I should say. And I really appreciate you coming on to talk about it. As far as I know, you were the first person to report on this NSPM 7, the National Security Presidential Memorandum 7, right? Or at the very least, I know you got an early copy of it. I can't remember now because it was more than 35 minutes ago, and I don't remember anything prior to that.
Yeah, that's right. The initial reporting on it was kind of interesting. So many outlets just got it wrong because they confused it with the presidential designation of Antifa as a terrorist group. And it kind of shows you how much they're able to hide in this bureaucratic morass of national security because it's so complicated that even the practitioners don't often understand the full extent of what's going on.
And now, is that why do they do that? Is that by design? Is it so that they can internally say, look, here's the memorandum. What you guys are doing is legal. I mean, is that what's going on here?
Yeah. So in the case of the Trump directive, another reason that I don't think it was taken very seriously outside of shows like yours, which have been fantastic about having me on and people seem engaged and seem to care about it, which is part of my puzzlement at Congress not making more of an issue of it. Because anyone I tell, I'll just quote a few parts from it. It defines terrorism along what are called indicators, or indicators that the document, which is, you can go on my newsletter and read it. It's right there. I'm not making this up. I'm not editorializing here, although it's going to sound like I am. It identifies indicators of terrorism as being anti-Christian sentiment, anti-American sentiment, anti-capitalist sentiment, anti-quote traditional family values, whatever that means. So this casts a very wide net, and it's not symbolic. I think another part is that Trump says so many crazy things. I can empathize with media's frustration with knowing when to take it seriously or not. But I think what was missing here was that context to realize that NSPM 7 stands for National Security Presidential Memorandum 7. Presidential memorandum is very serious. There's only 7 of them. That's what the 7 refers to. 6 is classified. They're usually classified. When Carter had his own memorandum in the 1970s, changing the nuclear posture of the U.S. Vis-a-vis Russia, this created a huge backlash, and there were protests, and because it was understood that that is a high-level strategy articulation to all of the federal government that, hey, guys, this is our new priority set for the next 4 years. So it wasn't rhetoric. This was like a reorganization of the national security state around terrorism as defined by those indicators I was just describing.
And we should also say that I don't know that we have had a more compliant executive branch. And by that, I mean, in terms of these agencies, I don't know that we've ever had the amount of turnover and the amount of political appointees in these agencies. So to the extent that this memorandum would have the force of law or force of regulation, it's a directive to an incredibly compliant national security state at this point.
Yeah, it can't be stressed enough how different this Trump administration is in regards to national security. That's what I focus on in my newsletter. In the first term, there are certain through lines between each term, but Tulsi Gabbard is director of national intelligence. He tried to get Gates and didn't quite pull that off. Got Bondi, who's probably the most pliant attorney general in U.S. history, and that's an extraordinarily powerful position. You have Kash Patel, you have Pete Hegseth. So those guardrails in the form of people familiar with the institutions that have some kind of self-definition of themselves as I'm someone who cares about the Defense Department as an institution, that doesn't really exist anymore. So I think that point is well taken.
When we hear reports, and we've had 6 members of the DOJ Civil Rights Division quit in the past 3 or 4 days because of the failure of investigating Jonathan Ross, I believe it's Jonathan Ross, the ICE agent who was responsible for shooting and killing Renee Good. They have resigned because of the failure to investigate that. However, we're also hearing that the FBI is investigating both Renee Good and her partner. I don't know if she was officially married to this woman, but when we talk about investigation of people who hold anti-traditional family values, I mean, I know what traditional family values means because, 20 years ago, this was the debate that, brought George W. Bush to make a primetime appeal to the American public as to why we should change the Constitution to outlaw marriage equality. And when they say anti-traditional family values, they're talking about gay people who are married or coupled. And I imagine also, trans people or any type of setup that isn't man, woman, boy, girl, and picket fence. And so this is grounds for them to find that Renee Good and her partner were essentially domestic terrorists.
Well, NSPM7's fingerprints are all over this because if you go, and again, the document is public, you can read it. They describe anti-ICE sentiment and threats to ICE as terrorism. And there was a follow-on directive from Attorney General Pam Bondi, which explicitly mentions the details that describe the incident perfectly. It talks about threats to ICE agent as including, quote, impeding or interfering with ICE operations, which to be clear is illegal. But they've cast it now as some kind of domestic terror threat to the officers, which if you watch the video, you can say that, her car being parked was blocking things, but there's just no evidence. I mean, I don't see how anyone can watch that and say that there was some kind of violent intent there. I just don't know what to say about that. But anyways, that is explicitly mentioned in the Pam Bondi follow-on directive that was in response to NSPM 7. So what that means is the whole of federal law enforcement and the intelligence community has been tasked with finding examples of that. And it's created a psychological environment where they see that as terrorism. They see it as aggressive. That's been one of the most alarming parts about reporting on this, is realizing how much these guys really believe that stuff. And it might sound like rhetoric to us and we can laugh it off. But, if a person's information diet is, first of all, like the federal bureaucracy you're working in there, and then maybe you have conservative media, you're going to be bombarded with these stories about these, hordes that are coming to kill you or whatever. And some number of people do believe that within the agency. So anyways, I think that also gives context into why they're trying to find evidence of terrorism associates of goods, because another part of NSPM 7 is mapping out the structures, finding the, quote, funding. I interviewed one person that had gone to an anti-ICE protest in Arizona, and he described to me he had video of this on the Ring camera. I published the video, you can watch it, 2 FBI agents visiting him and asking him, one of the questions as he described to me was, what can you tell us about the funding of this operation? And he's like, funding of the operation? What do you mean? And they say, the protest. And he said, as they kind of went back and forth, that he realized they really believe this stuff. Like, he tried to tell him, he's like, it was spontaneous. Like, we just see deportations, people were upset. I saw it on Instagram. I just went out there. They're like, yeah, but who's running it? They really there are elements within the FBI and federal government that think that there's going to be some shadowy cabal that they're going to go and find. And so I think that's what's happening in the background here.
Yeah, I think it's very easy for people to underestimate the depth in which I just remember, back in 2004, I remember talking to he was maybe a sergeant at that point. I think we had him on the show. He had written a book, and we had him on for the book. And then we started talking to him in the run up to the RNC, and this guy was seemingly normal in many different ways, but was absolutely convinced that that there was like all sorts of the hordes were going to descend on New. They were geared up, and that's part of what is done. Like they are stoked and dipped in these sort of like conspiracies. But we should also say this both has the impact of creating a mentality amongst these feds, and it also provides a legal framework for them, or at least an instructive framework in which the way they should behave, and some semblance, at least from the leadership, that they have justification for what they're doing. Let's talk about I mean, you've written a bunch of different stories I'd like to hit.
There's so much here to cover, unfortunately.
It is insane. You had two pieces, or really, I guess now three that we should talk about, and maybe we could talk about them in unison. You just had a piece that came out exclusive on secret ICE programs that you've revealed. Let's get to those in a moment. But you wrote a piece a couple of days ago that ICE is okay with Renee Good's killing, but simultaneously, immigration agents are terrified of the ICE backlash after the shooting. Talk about that paradox and what's going on. I mean, we can see in their behavior since you wrote the first piece on the 9th that their answer has been double down.
Totally. Yeah. So there's a huge disjunct between their public bravado within hours of Renee Good's killing, Homeland Secretary Kristi Noem basically dragging this poor woman's corpse through the mud and saying she's a terrorist. Imagine getting killed. And in addition, I mean, you know, some number of people are going to think whatever they're going to think about the video, but to take, okay, so you can say, you know, maybe this woman should have got out of a car. What was the psychological state of the cop? What, you know, were the reasons he was afraid? You can have a debate about that, but to say she was going to kill him and she was a terrorist within like 2 hours of the thing, not only struck me as absurd, as I talked to people in the Department of Homeland Security, a lot of them thought that as well. They can't say so publicly for the same reason that anyone at a job isn't going to want to go out and criticize their employer. And I don't want to overstate things and give you the impression that the majority of ICE agents think that. That's not true. But there's a sizable minority within the Immigration Services, Border Patrol, ICE, that do think that, including in senior ranks, because they look at this and they think it's not good for a number of reasons. One, just basic moral reason that a lot of people had revulsion watching it. But another one is the effect that it's going to have on the agency. It's destroying any reputation federal law enforcement might have had, not just ICE, but federal law enforcement generally, as was described to me by people in the FBI recently. You mentioned at the top of this segment, Justice Department people resigning over it. That's exactly the stuff that they're worried about, just from a purely cynical, self-serving point of view, that it's going to destroy the public faith in these institutions that has been very carefully put together over the last, 50 years or so, since Watergate and all that. But yeah, talking to folks, I was surprised because I've been covering national security for about 10 years now. And so I know people at these different agencies. And when I posted them, I was kind of thinking, all right, time to get an earful about why I'm wrong about this or whatever. And that wasn't what my experience was. I wouldn't say their views are the same as mine or that they're lefties by any means. But it was a lot closer to my point of view on this and a lot farther from the administration's. So I think part of what we're seeing when the administration gets out there and you have Vice President J.D. Vance saying it was terrorism, President Trump says she was going to kill him, the Homeland Secretary, it's like they're creating this unified front that doesn't actually reflect what the attitudes are behind the scenes and in the bureaucracy.
We've got a lot of footage. I mean, yesterday we dedicated a significant portion of the show to just, playing clips from out of Minnesota, and they were horrific. And since within the past 24 hours, we have clips now of, this came out of California. I guess it was a week or two ago, maybe, a guy getting shot in the eye with a pepper ball. We have clips of a woman being headed to the doctors, just being yanked out of her car and slammed onto the ground. They're clearly doubling down on this, and they're getting more aggressive. When you talk to your sources, I get that there's a cohort that is worried, like the optics of this are bad, the PR associated with this is bad, but do any of them have a fear that we are seeing the precursor to something that is worse and more expansive? I mean, when I look at this stuff, I'm starting to see them, widen the scope of what they think their authority is, and basically blow through the guardrails and the structures that are placed around different law enforcement agencies, right? I mean, different agencies have jurisdictions, different agencies have different, and as more and more resources go into ICE and they become more and more fanatical, it feels like they're becoming more and more expansive to the point where, hypothetically, we're 16 months away from them banging down your door saying like, you shouldn't be doing this, interview type of thing. I mean, that may be hyperbole, but it may not be. Like, it feels like we're headed in a certain trajectory. Do they have do any of your sources have that sort of like concern, or is it more just like these guys are, these guys are jokers and they're screwing things up for us? Do they have concerns about where this is leading?
I would say that their concerns are probably a little bit more subtle, just because institutionally, DHS was created in response to 9/11. ICE is younger than I am. Homeland Security is younger than I am. It was created in like 2003, I think. Replaced INS, which used to be under the Justice Department. So what was once a question of criminal or civil law under the Justice Department became elevated to a national security question. And so, to your point, I think it's an important point, because that's kind of what is in ICE's DNA, which is to be a national security entity and to treat immigration as a national security threat. So I think you're right to raise those concerns, because they certainly have the power to do a lot of that stuff. When people look at ICE, they think of the what's called enforcement removal operations, the guys that literally go and grab someone and arrest them. But that's actually a minority of what ICE is, or that's actually just one part of what ICE is. They have another wing called Homeland Security Investigations. And those guys, they've been tapped to since before any of this. They were investigating protesters in Colombia for Hamas ties. They're basically an internal FBI within Homeland Security that operates under ICE. You guys might have seen yesterday, there was this absurd story. It's going to sound like I'm making this up, but I encourage you to go. It's in CNN. You can go read it, about how HSI, the ICE component I was talking about, purchased something that they thought was a Havana syndrome like gun, giving people and they spent like 10, at least 10, it was 8-figure sum, at least $10 million on it. That was ICE, Homeland Security, but nobody knows that because people don't know what Homeland Security investigations are. Like, if you look at their badge,
I've seen
ICE.
HSI on some of these jackets occasionally, and they're ICE.
Yeah, exactly. And this is an army basically of thousands and thousands of these federal agents that they've certainly had a shot in the arm since Trump, when they've had their ICE has had its law enforcement budget tripled. But even before that, the Department of Homeland Security's badge carrying, gun carrying officers actually outnumber the FBI. It's a larger police force than the FBI. People don't know this. Not just ICE, but Federal Protective Services. They have all kinds of different things. So it's like kind of like this national security colossus has sort of been growing to this point where previous presidents didn't push it as far as it could go, but Trump is more than willing to, and he's taking full advantage of what they can do.
I want to just stop for a moment and just sort of like ruminate on this so that people fully understand. When it goes from INS under the DOJ, it is part of law enforcement. It's under a law enforcement structure where they have very clear lines of delineation of what they can do. They have, it's all within sort of an infrastructure that we deal with on a daily basis, even with local cops. They may have a different geographical jurisdiction, but they're within the context of the chief law enforcement agency of the country, which is the DOJ. When it moves into this DHS, and DHS is created in the wake of 9/11, and it was very controversial at the time, but Democrats were, if you think they capitulate now, that time was rather despairing. But they're in this sort of netherworld when they become national security, right? Because there isn't the same infrastructure to deal with a national security police force.
Yeah, in some ways what Trump is doing, I have to look at it, and I think there's a response that's like, this has to be illegal. This hasn't happened before. And unfortunately, I don't think the law is going to provide much solace because, again, this is kind of what Homeland Security was designed to do. It was designed to be a counterterrorism entity by the Bush administration. And thankfully, those powers were pushed as far as they could have been. But that doesn't mean that they can't be, because, again, that's what it's for. And it's just this, it's interesting. I was talking to an ICE agent once years ago, and he was describing to me how I think he used to work for INS before that, and then he moved to HSI. Homeland Security Investigations, the ICE component. And he was upset. And I asked him, why are you upset that you got moved to ICE? He goes, because now we work with the guys that are hated and seen as these deportation guys. Like, no one wants to talk to us. We can't, people are afraid of us. I'd much rather go back to how it was before. And I asked him, I said, how common is that view? He said, we made a big fight about the badges said ICE on it. We didn't want it to say ICE on it. So it's like these divisions that have existed within the department have been there for years, since before Trump. And so I think what we're seeing now is kind of like a lot of this stuff coming to a head because it wasn't really litigated in the past, even though it was clearly an issue.
And what does it mean that it's coming to a head? Like, is there any of this, or is it by coming to a head, you mean it's just sort of emerging and blossoming?
Well, I mean, the powers that they kind of always had legally, you now have someone in the White House who's willing to just stomp his foot on the gas and not care about what the backlash is. But he's still using a car that was built by the Bush administration and could have been used that way at any point. I think past presidents were a little more restrained by considerations about public backlash, but it's like they feed on this stuff. I mean, it's like they enjoy it. If you look at how they responded to the protests in Minneapolis, it's like this sense that there's some sadistic pleasure in it or something. I mean, they're explicitly deploying these things in the states that it's going to have the most public opposition. So there's this whole kind of sadistic partisan dynamic to it, I think, that exists. Yeah.
Are they aware of that in the agency, or do they care?
Oh, yeah, totally. They're aware of it. They care. I mean, I encourage people to talk to other reporters, to talk to these guys, because there's different layers. There's Washington, which has its own thing, and that tends to be the most political. But at the different field offices, you talk to these guys, they're a lot less like the picture that is when the Department of Homeland Security's Twitter account posts these just insane, I don't know what to say about them, depicting joining ICE as that famous painting of the white angel colonizing the West and driving the Native Americans out. They literally posted a photo of that. They posted another one saying a deportation of, 50 million, it's the equivalent of half the country. They said, we're going to deport them. The reason that messaging is designed to attract a different cohort to ICE and these agencies. And not just because they have money come out of their ears, they have more money than they know what to do with that tripling of the enforcement budget, the law enforcement budget that I mentioned before, but also because, as I reported on Monday, where ICE was, Border Patrol seeking volunteers to help with the Minneapolis deployment. All that says that all that means that their kind of rank and file existing cohort is uncomfortable with a lot of this stuff. So they need new blood that is going to be ideologically aligned. And that is a huge part of these crazy memes, because you get someone that responds to that, you can be sure they're going to be okay with something like that.
Right. Exactly. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the ICE programs revealed. I haven't had a chance to read this piece. It just came out. That's not your fault, Ken. It's my fault. But give us a sense of what these programs are.
So I was talking to a military intelligence guy several weeks ago, and he made an interesting observation. He says to me, you guys in the media are getting it. He's in the intelligence community, so he sees a lot of stuff that we don't see. And he says to me, you guys are getting this all wrong. He says, you're treating this like it's just about the deportations. I was like, what do you mean? Isn't that the whole point? He goes, that's part of the point. And he said, but Trump has also cast this as an invasion and characterized it as an invasion by narco traffickers and cartels that he wants to go to, in his words, war with. And he says, and his point basically was that these ICE operations and immigrants, they're basically cannon fodder for the war on cartels, because when ICE gets an immigrant, and as these documents show, they can interrogate them and dangle citizenship over their heads and say, if you don't work with us, you're gone, your family's gone. And as those documents that I just published right before I came on the show reveal, intelligence collection from the immigrants that ICE is targeting is a central component of the war that's taking place. So it's much bigger than just removing people, although that's obviously something the administration cares about. It's also mapping out and getting data on these groups that, as I'm being told, will eventually result in some kind of special operations in Mexico, in other parts of Latin America. So, like you said before, you mentioned before that you have this sense that there's something bigger going on here. Absolutely, it's much bigger than just the deportations. I mean, they've already shut down the border to the point that no one else is coming in anymore. They've achieved like one of their main objectives, but that's not his only one.
So expand on that for me. So the relationship between this is all the. So this would suggest that it fits into a larger sort of like this is the Don Roe doctrine, and there's part of DHS which is being weaponized in service of this Don Roe doctrine, which ostensibly would be that we control this Western hemisphere. And I guess it would suggest that the biggest challenge to our authority is these cartels. Where does this intersect with the CIA, which in many respects is, use the cartels as I would suspect has probably fertilized the ground that these cartels have grown in, if not midwifed, some of these industries in some way, because in service of other sort of national security agendas. I mean, and what's the theory behind we're going to send special ops in to take out different cartels here? Is it really just a way to sort of make it, is it to make it more palatable for U.S. corporations to go into a country, or to stabilize these places, or to put in strong men who are not challenged by, internal cartel? What's the end game?
Well, Trump and the administration have made it very clear that they want the governments of Latin America to be pro-U.S., and that carries with it all kinds of things about trade and capitalism and the things that you were talking about. So there's no question. But I think a really important part of this is the way in which they have used the narco trafficker designations to basically make the case legally, and that case is classified. There's an Office of Legal Counsel classified memo, essentially making the argument that the drug flow into the U.S. because of the body count, which is significant to be fair, opioids and things like that, represents the body count of an actual war, and this constitutes a war, and so we can take advantage.
Not
of
necessarily coming from Central and Latin America, where what's creating the body count, we should say.
Right. Yeah, and I fundamentally disagree. I don't. It's obviously a tragedy that so many people die, but no one is ramming these drugs down people's throats. There is a social problem here that
we have 50,000 people a year who die on the highways. We have probably more than that who die because of the oil that Venezuela ships than the drugs. And I would argue we've also probably, at least added 10, 15, 20,000 people who are going to die this year because of lack of health insurance. So it's a little bit selective. It sounds to me, but that's the legal justification.
That's the legal, exactly. And I think to give him his due, I think it's very clever in the sense that if you look at polling around the opioids, and I lived in Wisconsin, I'm here in Wisconsin right now, I'm in the Midwest, here in particular, and I'm sure all over the country, it is a very sensitive issue, opioids. And I think Trump picked something. You said before the opioids don't come from, that's all true, but it's as if he picked the most socially kind of sensitive issue you can, that people are really raw about, and I think they're right to be, and feel as though something should be done. And he's offered them a solution that, there's no evidence that it's reduced the drug problem.
It's not necessarily real, but it scratches an itch.
And it's gratifying. And I encourage people to go, I looked, because I was just curious, why do people support this stuff? And you look at some of the replies, it's not about imperial hegemony or anything. It's so many of the replies are yeah, F these people. I know my cousin died of blah, blah, blah. And, those people should be given an explanation about why. Here's a different plan for how to address that. That's real pain for a lot of people. And it makes it very easy for someone like Trump to come in and say, hey, these, weapons of war, we're going to use it to make these people suffer that have been destroying your life. And so it forms not just the legal basis, that we've been talking about, but also the social basis for it. And if you look at polling, it's a lot more split than you think. And again, it's not usually about wanting to conquer other countries. It's this sense that
nobody's out there going,
screwed.
I've been really waiting for someone to come in and institute a new Monroe Doctrine. It is rather, I have problems in my hometown. I've seen too many people I know die
there's
of
real
OD.
pain.
I mean, you can also see this in the context of just like the talking points from the right when you see on cable news when people talk about, we have no authority to blow up these boats. Are you really defending drug dealers?
Right.
Okay, so lastly, do you have a sense of what's next as this gets expansive? I mean, they're obviously going to go, who knows how long they'll be in Minneapolis. We had a report, we had an IMer yesterday who was talking about, I can't remember where in Massachusetts it was, but seeing a shipment of brand new SUVs in Burlington, Mass, to an ICE facility there. So presumably, there's a couple of places that are getting sort of like teed up. Nobody knows necessarily where those are going to be. But do you have a sense, both geographically, what's going to be next, and operationally? Like, because it really does feel like what we've seen in the past 4 or 5 days, week, is these feds, because it's a mixture of ICE and DHS and DHI or HSI, I should say, and ERO, which is the enforcement removal, and CBB, the Border Patrol guys. They seem to have gotten the message: be more aggressive with protesters, be more aggressive with observers. Somebody just at the beginning of the show today, IM'd and said, it looks like like they're taking junkers, beat up cars, and using them almost like a smash up derby to stop people from following them when they leave the facility in the morning, which has been a tactic by observers. Do you have a sense of like what's on the docket, like how they expand, or they sort of do it? Like, do you have a sense that they have a playbook?
Oh, yes.
Or are they making this up as they go?
No, well, I would say it's both. You can't underestimate how much they are like freestyling at any point in time, but within these broad sort of intuitive contours that they have. And so, like when you see the arrest of Maduro, for instance, like they don't seem to have much of a plan for what they're going to do for the person that replaces him. But they do have an idea that we'd like to have a pro-US government in Venezuela and regionally as well. So, when I talk to folks in the military, they think it's very likely that there will be other similar operations throughout Latin America. And there's some amount of like testing the waters to see how things are received. And if that's what they're basing their decisions on, the media hand job that Trump got after the Maduro operation is just going to like affirm all of his most aggressive instincts, because nothing, no one was killed, amazingly.
We're going to land in Greenland. I mean, it just seems to me like completely obvious that we're just going to show up one day and we're going to be there and we're just going to say it's ours.
What Trump said explicitly, they asked him, I said, what could like stop you? He says, only my own morality. And what that is a challenge to Congress, to saying, that's him saying, I dare you to do anything. And Congress has given no indication they're going to do so. I don't mean give an inspiring speech. I don't mean write a letter. I mean, you always make fun of, I always enjoy your impressions of Chuck Schumer. He said after the Maduro arrest, he said very explicitly, we are not willing to use the budget to coerce Trump and the executive branch into behaving differently on this. Well, that's the main point of Congress, the power of the purse. If you're not willing to use the whole
the only leverage point you have.
Yeah.
They don't care about the letters. I hate to break it to Chuck Schumer, but they don't care about the letters.
Don't want to break any hearts here. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like the fact that they're not willing to do that means there's not going to be any breaks. Because unless the Republicans become willing to stand up to their party's most popular leader, and I don't know how long. So that's not going to happen. So it would have to come from the Democrats. And the leadership has all said explicitly, that's off the table. Like, and I'm not saying you have to just, refuse to fund anything, but it's like you can target certain programs and create headaches and things and create a kind of negotiation structure, but they're completely unwilling to. And when they say they're unwilling to, that's even worse, because then it's like telling the White House, oh, don't worry, nothing is going to happen on our end.
Yeah, I don't know if Schumer's going to be able to hold that position, frankly. I think that's going to be, he's been saying that for days, but I don't know if he's going to be able to maintain that, because it's an insane position to have. And it's based
giving up
upon
all your leverage before anything has even happened. Why not at least be like a little bit mysterious? Like, oh, I don't know, I'm going to think of, they won't even say that.
He is, I mean, this is a separate conversation, but the reason why he won't pretend that he's going to actually do something is because he doesn't want the idea to exist.
Exactly.
That he would do something, because then he'll be obligated.
Yeah.
And, the killing of Renee Good, if it were it not for the killing of Renee Good, I don't think he would feel any pressure. And now it's just sort of like every time these images are on TV, he's like, damn it. How am I going to get away with just, because his whole strategy is, if we don't exist, nobody's going to be mad at us and they're going to vote for us in the fall. It's a strategy. I don't think it's an advisable one, but that's what it is. It's absurd. Anything else you think we should know at this point, Ken?
I would just look to the, I want to stress the big picture point here of that it's not just ICE. It is part of a colossus of different, I mean, we've mentioned Border Patrol, Federal Protective Services, Homeland Security investigations. They have created a hell of a hammer, and it's looking for a nail right now. And I hope that the coverage can start to reflect that more, because what we're facing is much bigger than just the individual horrors that we see every day, as important as those are on videos.
Let me ask you this, based upon what you know of the people you talk to, right? Like the cohort that you talk to is probably not the Proud Boy cohort of this apparatus.
You'd be surprised, but yes, generally.
But okay, generally.
I talk to a lot of people.
When, if, and this may be a little bit outside of your portfolio, but in terms of like, what reform, and obviously I would love we to switch back to the INS thing, and hopefully down the road we will, but there's obviously not the power to do that necessarily now. But what reform could be required to pass the budget bill, for instance, that would act as a constraint on these people? In other words, like, from my perspective, the best ask would be, we will fund DHS, but no masks. Like, would the idea that these people have a certain amount of exposure create some self-editing and self-censoring in terms of their behavior? Because obviously, like, we're trying to just sort of like hang on for, 8 months now, and then from there it's a different strategy. But is there something else that might have that impact?
You make a good point about the masks, because that just goes to show that there is a continuum of ways that you can push back on this. Schumer and, people like Senator Cory Booker, who yesterday also said that, a shutdown is off the table. They make it sound as though the only option is this maximalist, like you shut everything down and throw the economy into free fall or something. There's a way they could say, okay, you have my vote, but one thing, not the masks, or just something like, or you could ask for more than that, a lot more than that, or you can ask for half of that. Like,
it's a huge continuum. But right. I'm curious, from your perspective, what has the most, what would have the most salience in terms of inhibiting ICE?
I would say,
and by ICE, I'm saying all of this.
I would say just changing the policy around use of force, because that policy protects them both legally and also administratively. And so if you look at what the policy is, I'm sure you've talked about it on your show, it's basically the subjective sense that they were in danger.
Right.
If you could change that, you could add other things. You can make things specific to cars. There have been, almost a dozen ICE-involved shootings of people in vehicles. So clearly there's a misunderstanding about what the rules are around vehicles. You could strengthen those. Basically anything with respect to the...
are they doing that stuff because there's latitude in the policy, or are they doing it because according to Miller yesterday on CNN and DHS and our vice president, they have total immunity anyways. And so, the policy stuff doesn't seem to be, there's a policy you shouldn't be getting in front of a car. That's the thing is that I'm wondering if any of these policies are actually yeah, it's a policy. We don't give a shit. Who's there to say you broke the policy as opposed to to me, the mask thing seems like at least there's a threat that in the future, if Chuck Schumer's not the Senate leader and, it's President AOC or whatever, you could be in big trouble because we know who you are now.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Body cameras could be another thing because God knows what would have happened if we didn't have all these cameras that happened to be at the incident. And they clearly are very happy to just flood the zone with their account within 2 hours of the thing, even if it hurts the subsequent legal case. So it's really important that there be some relatively objective accounting of what these things are happening. That could be another one. There's a whole range that even just the idea that they're all carrying guns as opposed to if you go to the UK, it's more like the SWAT model where cops won't necessarily carry a gun or they won't carry a heavy gun. They have to call someone in based on the severity of the incident or whatever. That could be another model they could approach. But I guess a whole other one was just looking at the use of force guide. They have not updated that since 2023. So this massive, unprecedented deportation program, there has been no attendant change to policy whatsoever. They literally, if you can search I published it, it's redacted, but I found a copy on in a court lawsuit, full copy. You can search, it's dozens of pages long, doesn't make one reference to the word protester, civil unrest, civil disobedience, none. They have literally zero policy for this thing that they are facing every single day and in which were the circumstances in which that woman was killed. So that could be another one. I could go on all day with different ideas for what they could do.
And could those changes in policy be the underlying the underlying principle of potential state lawsuits? For instance, Kathy Hochul is allowed for civil. So if you could go into a state courthouse and say, ICE has this published policy. They clearly were treated me in a way that was contrary to that policy. That becomes a leverage point for them.
Exactly. Okay. Exactly. So, I'm not a strategist in this way. I can tell you what comes to mind, but this is something Congress should be debating. And Congress's role in all of this has been disgraceful. Right up to, I mentioned the use of force policy. That was not public. If you go on ICE's FOIA page, Freedom of Information Act library, you click on it, it's 40 pages long. The entire thing is blacked out and it's not even classified. That's something Betty Thompson on the Homeland Security Committee could easily have, when he was in the majority, forced them to just release. And the idea that, we don't have the majority now. Yeah, of course you don't. What do you think was going to happen when you did? Trump was running for president again and you didn't want to have any transparency. It's just so frustrating. And they all criticize, they're like, the Republicans are so loyal to Trump, which is obviously true. But you guys are too when your president's in office. And that's the only time that you're going to get anything done. And they don't do anything. So much isn't public. The list of programs that I report recently, these are huge sweeping national programs. We don't know any of it except Congress. I know for a fact that they know about this stuff. And for whatever reason, they never revealed it.
Ken Klippenstein. I'm sorry. One more question. I don't mean to hold you so much. Washington Post reporter just had her house raided. A couple
You're
hours
giving me
ago.
PTSD here. I saw that and was thinking, oh God, not zero chance for this story today, given the secrecy of the programs that I get subpoenaed or something. So God willing, that doesn't happen, but we'll find out.
Is it? It must be scary.
Yeah, I'm more worried about my sources than myself. My sense is that it's a huge pain. It's very expensive, can be legally ruinous, all of which is bad, but I'm more worried about the sources.
And they're making it clear this is what they're attempting to do. Ken Klippenstein, folks can go and read your work, and I hope they do at the Clip News on Substack. We'll put a link to that, of course, I've literally just seen 2 IM saying we just signed up for it. I'm glad to hear that. Go check out Ken's thing and follow him on Twitter too, or X or whatever it is.
Yeah, please keep up the Schumer impressions. I love that content. That's my favorite Sam content.
I will do it until he steps down. So I appreciate it. Thanks, Ken.
All right, thanks.
All right, folks. Ran a little late today. Surprise. Important stuff.
Nice to do the show while we still are free.
Yeah, exactly. Just keep waiting for that knock on the door. I already have it. I already know what I'm going to say. I got it all from Klippenstein. That's it.
It's funny because mine is I got it all from Sam.
Yeah, we just all
I got it all from Brian.
pointing.
Just gives me a packet every morning.
Exactly. That reminds me, I got to get our Signal account set up. Folks, it's your support that makes this show possible. You can become a member at jointhemajority.report.com. When you do, you not only get the free show free of commercials, but you also get the fun half. And in the fun half, you get to IM us and other things. I mean, you keep this show surviving and thriving, as it were. Also, justcoffee.coop, fair trade coffee, hot chocolate. Use the coupon code majority, get 10% off. It is a co-op. What better way to start to build some solidarity and networking in your neighborhood or in your apartment building or wherever it is with a coffee clutch? And you could serve justcoffee.coop. Coffee makes for a great, first of all, you don't know much about your neighbors. You invite them over for some coffee. You have some Just Coffee on the table. What's that? That's a weird looking bag. What's that? Oh, it's a co-op in Madison, Wisconsin. And now you just read the faces and you know who the first people are that you go to if you need help, right? That's the way you do it. Very subtle, but there you go. Where'd you get that? Well, I got it from Just Coffee with the coupon code majority. I got 10% off. Matt, what's happening in the Matt Leck media universe?
Yeah, Left Reckoning. Yesterday we had Mo Tasic on talking about her story on Marco Rubio and his extensive ties to deep state narco trafficking that has been aligned with our intelligence agencies and all the various sort of conspiracies that intersect with, including Iran-Contra and the Kennedy assassination. And also we had a guy, Marco Velez, who is challenging Dan Patrick for lieutenant governor in Texas, who was a really impressive candidate. So check that out. Left Reckoning, patreon.com/Left Reckoning.
All right, folks. See you in the fun half.
Three months from now, 6 months from now, 9 months from now. And I don't think it's going to be the same as it looks like in 6 months from now. And I don't know if it's necessarily going to be better 6 months from now than it is 3 months from now. But I think around 18 months out, we're going to look back and go like, wow. What? What is that going on? It's nuts. Wait a second. Hold on for a second.
The Majority Report.
Emma, welcome to the program.
Hey.
Matt.
What is up, everyone?
Nomiki.
You did it. Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon.
Bradley, you want to say hello?
Sorry to disappoint everyone. I'm just a random guy.
It's all the boys today.
Fundamentally false. No, I'm sorry. Women's...
Stop talking for a second and let me finish.
Where is this coming from, dude?
But dude, you want to smoke this 7A?
Yes.
Hi, me? Is it?
Yes.
Is this me?
Is it me?
It is you.
Is this me? Hello? Is this me?
I think it is you. Who is you? No sound.
Every single freaking day. What's on your mind?
Sports.
We can discuss free markets and we can discuss capitalism.
I'm gonna go throw up.
Libertarians.
They're so stupid, though.
Common sense says, of course.
Gobbledygook.
We fucking nailed him.
So what's 79 plus 21?
Challenge met.
I'm positively quivering.
I believe 96, I want to say.
857-210-35-501. 1/2. 3/8.
9/11, for instance.
$3,400, $1,900.
6, 5, 4, $3 trillion sold. It's a zero-sum game.
Actually, you're making me think less of it.
But let me say this.
Poop.
You call it satire. Sam goes, it's satire.
On top of it all,
Yeah.
my favorite part about you is just like every day, all day, like everything you do.
Without a doubt. Hey, buddy, we see you. All right, folks.
It's just the week being weeded out, obviously.
Yeah, sun's out, guns out. I don't know.
But you should know.
People just don't like to entertain ideas anymore.
I have a question. Who cares?
Our chat is enabled, folks.
I love it.
I do love that.
Look, gotta jump. Gotta be quick. I gotta jump.
I'm losing it, bro.
2 o'clock. We're already late, and the guy's being a dick. So screw him. Sent to a gulag?
Outrageous.
Like, what is wrong with you?
Love you, bye.
Love you. Bye-bye. We are back. Are we back?
We're back.
Sam Seder on the Majority Report. Emma Vigeland out today. She just coins the phrase hump day and then takes off. That's the way it works. She just leaves it, she just she names the day and then just disappears into the ether.
Such a helpful treasure trove. Tell me, what is your name? MC Rose. Can see him later hanging in the cove. But tell me, what is your name? MC Rose.
Oh my God. Is that hedge fund guy?
Correspondence. That's the Whose Line Is It Anyway guys singing with Karl Rove back in 2005 or something.
Jesus, not the Whose Line It Is Anyways. It was, what's his face?
I mean, Colin Moriarty was up there, and the other guy from Whose Line that I can't remember his name.
No, not the one you're thinking. You think of the SF guy, right? With the glasses.
No, I'm thinking of Karl Rove up there with the host of Meet the Press. Who was the last host of Meet the Press? The guy after Russert.
Oh, might have been Russert, but this is the guy.
Yes, this guy in there. He was the guy to the left of is a.
Yes, it is. You're right. Yeah.
What's that guy's name?
The old NBC guy.
Yeah, the old NBC guy. Well, we don't need to. We don't like. We're all sitting here just Googling the absolute irrelevant. The most relevant thing that we could.
It's on the soundboard now.
Yes. Hey, do you remember Tom Homan? He had to basically lay low for a while as it was somewhere in between, like him deciding to go full Ozempic, and also this weird story about how the FBI was running an investigation to find corruption. This is in the run-up to the Trump winning the election. When Homan was out and about actually campaigning, saying, if I win, you're going to do all the immigration stuff. And he was out and about. It was quite clear that he was going to be named something in the immigration regime, and FBI agents posing as contractors apparently got hooked up with him and gave him $50,000 reportedly in a fast food bag.
Kava bag.
Kava. I'm not familiar with that fast food place.
It's all right.
It sounds pretty tasty. And
They gave it to him. And then, to be fair, the Trump administration DOJ investigated it and exonerated him, found he did nothing illegal in taking that money.
Benefits of being inaudible.
And then we didn't hear much from him
Well,
for a
they
while.
said nothing illegal happened, but did they say ever that he took the money, or did they stop short of admitting that he did that?
According to the FBI, he took the money. I mean, that was what they were investigating, right? I mean, there's nothing to investigate if he doesn't take the money.
He won't acknowledge that he has taken the money now.
He won't acknowledge that he took $50,000. Now, maybe it was 49,980. You know, maybe it was 51,000. Maybe it was 55,000. But here he is, and good for her. It was Kara Welker, Kirsten, well, the person who hosts Meet the Press, asked them about it this past weekend.
Questions about you. As you know, in an undercover operation in 2024, the FBI recorded you accepting a bag which was determined to contain $50,000 from agents posing as business executives who said you indicated you could help win government contracts in the second Trump administration. I want to stress there was an investigation. It was closed last year. The Justice Department said it found, quote, no credible evidence of any criminal wrongdoing. I do want to give you an opportunity to respond, though, Mr. Homan. Where is that $50,000? Did you keep it or did you return it?
I didn't take $50,000 from anybody, and that's a question for the FBI. I'm not going to give the story any more air. Bottom line, I did nothing illegal. I did nothing, in the FBI and DOJ review this. No credible evidence I did anything, because I didn't do anything illegal.
But was there $50,000 in the bag, and did you return it?
I'm not giving the story any more air. This is an attack on my integrity and my professionalism. I'm not addressing it.
But
that's a question of the FBI.
Can you address, given that it's been recorded, did you keep the money? Did you return the money?
I did not keep any. $50,000 is ridiculous. The FBI has been clearing this, you know, and it irritates me. This story keeps going on and on and on.
Pause it for a second. I find it irritating too. But here's the thing. Here's a question for the FBI, right? So just ask me a question to the FBI. They can answer it. You're talking about $50,000.
It's an attack on my credibility that
It's exactly the total attack on my credibility.
originated at the FBI.
With the FBI under the thing, listen, it questions my professionalism. But okay, so if it's a question for the FBI, then and the FBI, of course, would never release this information unless, of course, you said it was okay. Don't you think it's time that your name be cleared? My baby begin.
Yeah, he's been clearing this, you know, and it irritates me. This story keeps going on and on and on, even though I've been found to do nothing inappropriate. So I'm not going to ask any more of these questions.
But just, did you return the money?
I didn't have any money to return. I didn't take the $50,000, bottom line.
Let me ask you, you're saying you did nothing unlawful. Would you be comfortable with the FBI releasing the recordings?
That's a decision of the FBI.
But it might be a decision for the FBI, but would you be comfortable if they released
Again, I'm not getting ahead of the FBI in this investigation.
Well, pause it. Wait a second. Wait. What investigation? That investigation do an ongoing investigation? I didn't even play that movie. The investigation was closed. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not going to tell them that I feel comfortable with releasing stuff because I don't want to interfere with the investigation. It's not happening right now. It's not going to give it any more air. Get clogged up. It's not as I've clogged up my nose. So wait a second. So just a review here. He's been recorded getting a bag that reportedly had $50,000 in it. Maybe it was just a hamburger. Maybe it was $50,000 worth of hamburgers or whatever it is, the kava they sell. He doesn't want to give this any more air. He's been found that he did nothing illegal or wrongdoing by the Trump administration, the administration he works for. And that's the end of it. Okay, well, are you comfortable with the FBI? If you tell me to ask the FBI about this, are you comfortable with the FBI answering? Well, I don't want to get involved in. I don't want to get out in front of their investigation. So wait, is there an ongoing investigation or not? Well,
I did nothing wrong.
Is there any more to this? No.
That's about 20 seconds.
Yeah, let's see what.
Again, I'm not
those
getting ahead.
recordings.
I'm not getting ahead of the FBI in this investigation.
But can you just say, on a personal level, would you be comfortable releasing the recordings?
I am not going to get ahead of the FBI. That's their decision.
Okay, all right. Mr. Homan, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
We greatly
I think she, like some producer should have jumped in her ear and say, wait, is there an investigation ongoing now?
I'm not going to get ahead of the investigation. I'm not going to give them permission to do something that I really don't want them to do.
But I'm not going to get ahead of legacy. So, yeah, that's it.
Gotcha.
Yep. But
understood.
But okay.
I used to think the sort of like idea everything's going downhill and people are getting stupider was like a little bit Chicken Little. Nope.
Well, I mean, every single protester in Minneapolis that's been interviewed is so much more articulate than anybody in the
power?
administration.
Yeah. With any.
Oh, it is the devolution of the species that we're like. It's just.
Did you see that kid not know what the word benevolent meant?
Nick Shirley?
Actually, let's watch that. This is the guy. Let's just do this just because we're having. I need this right now.
Generational muckraker.
J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States, said that we need more reporters like this young man who deserves a Pulitzer for reporting on an investigation that was already happening and showing up out in front of child care facilities that were closed and one which wouldn't let some weirdo in. Here he sits down with Andrew Callahan. Andrew Callahan does a very good job of just letting Nick Shirley, is that his name? Yeah. Nick Shirley.
Don't call me Shirley.
Nick Shirley. Nick Shirley be Nick Shirley. And here is this young man. How old is he? 14?
23?
I mean, mentally?
23. Here he is.
Who do you think are the three most benevolent billionaires? What do you mean by the word benevolent? Just well-intentioned, positive billionaires who you think are creating, net positive societal progress. Trump, our president. I think he. Who do you think?
How did he pronounce that?
Benevolent.
Benevolent.
Now listen, I'm not anybody to point out people's mispronunciation of things that they've just heard said to them. I am capable of doing that. But also, I'm quite sure that my 12-year-old son knows what the word benevolent means. Even if he called it malevolent, he would know what it meant. But there it is.
The Tom Homan School of Diction.
Pulitzer.
The word benevolent is typically introduced and taught in middle school around grades 6 and 8 as part of building advanced vocabulary appearing in literature like
I thought my
Frankenstein.
son in 7th grade was advanced. I guess he's just average. Well, all right. I'll take it.
Anyways, Bill Ackman and
He's special to me.
Silicon Valley guys give that guy about more than your local news.
Yeah, exactly. So far, so good. There's an app called Attorney Shield. $16 a month gives you access to an on-call attorney via VO. Okay. Ice babies. Can you please make the "What do you mean by benevolent" into a sound drop?
I actually have it pulled already.
Oh, he's Mormon. Has he been like how deep into Mormonism? I mean, I will say, like, look, the Mormon thing can go both ways. I've seen very highly educated Mormons who are very competent, and then I've seen ones who are not allowed to go to school.
Yeah, shout out the Brigham Young Money podcast, who I've talked to before.
Jackie C. Interview Mazer Bazari, editor in Iran War, network of Iranian journalists worldwide. He was imprisoned in Iran for his work, subject of a Jon Stewart film about it. Free newsletter website. Scary Carrie, I'm sad. I started a new job and I can't always catch the show live anymore. Well,
most people get it on VOD.
Zane, special update from this morning ice raids. They've added bashed up blockade cars to their convoys. I read this earlier. After running them out of 5 locations, an ICE agent in a shitbox, busted up Acura, tried to smash me to keep me from falling out of a parking lot. Not today, piggies. Good for you. Henry, when talking about ICE, you guys need to clip "We Are the Baddies" from the Peep Show. Are we the baddies? Left is Strage. Have you seen the Sasha Riley Epstein release? I don't know what that is. Do you guys know what that is?
I don't know what that is, no.
Noam Land Security. Leave our friends and neighbors who contribute so much to our country's well-being alone, you freaking masked marauders exercising fraudulent law enforcement cosplay. Glenn Beck ate my dad. Sam, my 6-year-old, is obsessed with the Fun Half theme song. He can recite it. He also walks around saying, folks, folks, folks. Oh, and I'm a nurse in Indiana. Shout out to striking nurses. We deserve fair play and safe staffing. Science is political. Trump threatening to cut off federal funding on February 1st to sanctuary states if states capitulate. How long until all funding will be cut if abortion laws aren't to Trump's will, etc.? Dems need to shut down the government. Here's the point as to why, again, we're still in the same place. We're going to talk to David Dayen on Friday about this, but we are still in the same place where we have this problem where the president can decide willy-nilly whether he's going to fund different aspects of the government. Wet as Pelosi. Hey, friends, I sent an email of an important and awful ICE encounter that a friend of mine, I hope I could pass along. This is an arrest of a friend in Minneapolis. The post details the arrest of an American citizen and the horrors of what it's like to be in holding cells. Email would be from me. Okay, I've got that. I will look for that in a bit. I'm going to just put it over here into my little chat with Brian so that I know where it is. And now it's Brian's responsibility. So if it doesn't work out, it is...
Good luck with that.
Brian's fault. Kill Callum. Apparently the guy who heckled him got suspended. Yes, my understanding is that is the case, but he also got probably a year or two's worth of salary in this GoFundMe.
I think the UAW, the union, has actually released a statement on his behalf too. So we'll have to see how this plays out.
He is a pedophile protector? So
I think it's that, people, we've negotiated rights to free speech in our contract, sort of thing. Statement from the Ford plant visit from VP Laura Dickerson. The auto worker at Dearborn Truck is a proud member of a strong and fighting union, the UAW. He believes in freedom of speech, a principle we wholeheartedly embrace, and we stand with our membership in protecting their voice in the job. The UAW will ensure that our member receives the full protection of all negotiated contract language, safeguarding his job and his rights as a union member. Workers should never be subjected to vulgar language or behavior by anyone, including the President of the United States, which is an interesting final line on that. But yeah, that's one reason to join a union, is so you're protected in case you want to call out the President of the United States.
Let's go. I want to play this. Elizabeth Warren. There's two things. We'll get to, let's do Elizabeth Warren first. But right now, there's going to be a fight. We have 2 weeks. And the Republicans are cutting up the different funding bills, which is all well and good. That actually may end up regretting doing this. The trouble is that they're having a lot of time. They have a very, very narrow majority in the House. And the House is supposed to be the slam dunk. And then the Senate is where maybe there could be a problem, because if 41 Democrats vote to keep conversation alive, in other words, filibuster, then they can't pass anything in the Senate. There is a fight in the Senate now. if you're feeling helpless, right now is a good time to be pressuring Chuck Schumer, calling his office, he is the Senate Minority Leader, calling your own senator and saying, do not sign off on funding for DHS. Do not sign off on funding for DHS. And if you want to throw in, unless qualified immunity is revoked, unless masks are outlawed, unless there is explicit policy in engagement, rules of engagement that are published and adopted. Those are 3 just general asks you can say, but it's very important. We'll put the number of the Senate up in the podcast and YouTube description. People are moving now to get rid of Chuck Schumer following the 2026 election. It would be great if he left now. And he's probably, I think his term is up in 2028. I don't think he's the type of guy who's going to walk away from the job, but he may step down as leader, or he may get voted out as leader. Here's Elizabeth Warren basically arguing, and remember, the abundance stuff was very much a way to push back on the labor gains and the antitrust gains that were made during the Biden years, basically because he had to deal with Warren and Sanders. And when you talk about labor gains and you talk about antitrust, the totality of that is stop redistributing wealth upwards and start redistributing wealth across the country and across and basically downwards. Antitrust does that. Taxation does that. Strengthening the power of labor does that. Nationalizing functions of the private market that are completely failed, like health insurance, a completely failed product, completely unnecessary. We already have 1/3 of the country on government health insurance, and it's the most popular, the second most popular programs that we have, Medicare. So here's Elizabeth Warren jumping into that fray because we saw the tech bros, the crypto crowd create this sort of abundance movement. And yes, I think everybody should have a lot of stuff. That would be great. But the abundance movement is disempower labor, disempower the regulatory state. Are there instances where we should change regulations, perhaps in local housing rules? Probably, yes. It would be hard for me to believe that we have reached the absolute right mix of regulations and specific regulations. But to the extent that well-meaning regulations get abused, it is very often by well-funded sources. Here is Elizabeth Warren making a speech the other day to basically set the table on the future of the Democratic Party. Here's number 19. She is discussing why people are hesitant to support Democrats, despite the fact that they loathe the Republicans.
Many voters are rightly skeptical that we'll really make something happen. After all, we didn't even take the extraordinarily obvious and simple step of increasing the minimum wage the last time we had power. Why not? Well, ask Kyrsten Sinema, the former Democratic senator from Arizona, who curtsied on the Senate floor while rejecting a minimum wage increase in 2021 to raise wages for up to 27 million Americans, and then spent the rest of her time in office protecting hedge fund managers from paying taxes and blocking filibuster reform.
Pause it.
Sinema faced...
Just go back a little bit. Kyrsten Sinema is the problem. Yes, she was a problem. But the point that Warren makes next is the one that is actually actionable. That is, you're always going to have, because of the nature of the country and the nature of the system, you're always going to have a couple of senators or a couple of House members who don't want to get with the program. Leadership is supposed to be, how do I get those people to get with the program? There may be times I have to cut them loose if they need, electoral things. But what do I have at my disposal that I can deploy to get them to change their minds? Or do I do nothing and just be like,
27 million Americans, and then spent the rest of her time in office protecting hedge fund managers from paying taxes and blocking filibuster reform. Sinema faced no consequences from her president or her leaders in Washington. Eventually, it was her own constituents back home who chased her out of the Senate. But today, she is cashing in from the industry she protected. The Wall Street Journal recently marveled at the sheer number of projects Sinema has taken on from crypto, AI, and other wealthy corporate clients. And meanwhile, millions of working Americans who have not seen a minimum wage increase in almost 2 decades are still waiting for Democrats to deliver on one of our most basic promises.
So here we have, she is calling out the leadership. Joe Biden is, retired. But Chuck Schumer is still the leader. And here she is, she's calling out the leadership of the Democratic Party. And she's talking to Chuck Schumer. I mean, this is, she's part of the so-called Fight Club and whatnot. But she is basically saying, Chuck Schumer failed. He failed under the Biden administration to corral Sinema. He failed with Manchin. And I would argue that, and I have many times, that Biden failed by not bringing up that Build Back Better quicker. And instead invited Sinema and Portman to come up with their version. Then invited the Republicans in to come up with their version. And just to give you an example of the leadership of the Democratic Party, here's Sean Patrick Maloney, who put this up on the screen. Brian, put it up on there you go. When I ran the DCCC, he was in the leadership of the Democratic Party in Congress. The Democrats in New York screwed up the redistricting stuff. He got redistricted out of his district. He ended up running against, or basically pushing Mondaire Jones out of his, in good leadership style, and ended up like a cascade of losses under this guy. When I ran the DCCC, every decision came down to imperfect information. Well, what's he up to here? Is he justifying why he screwed up so bad?
I wish I didn't already know.
Where to spend, which races were real, and what signals to trust when the noise was overwhelming. In other words, I had a very bad sense of what was going on in districts, and we basically just went after rich people. Polls lagged.
How about Dearborn?
Pundits guessed. Social media distorted reality. What exists now and didn't then are prediction markets that force people to put real stakes behind their beliefs, not just opinions. They surface signals that cut through noise in ways that few other tools can. I've seen how valuable that kind of information is. That's why I'm joining Predict Action as CEO and president to help ensure these markets have real rules, real accountability, and real protection for the people using them. I look forward to working alongside Chairman Patrick McHenry to make sure policymakers get this right and protect this growing industry. And Patrick McHenry, put that right over there. Patrick McHenry, of course, is the Republican, from North Carolina's 10th district. And the Coalition for Prediction Markets is excited to announce their new bipartisan leadership. Ambassador Sean Maloney will serve as CEO, president, and former House Financial Services Chair Patrick McHenry joining as senior advisor. So they've got a bipartisan former congressional leaders to go. And you understand, like, for instance, if you wanted to decide, who am I going to bet on tonight? When the Celtics, I don't think the Celtics are playing tonight, but last night, OKC playing San Antonio. How are you going to decide? Well, we're going to use prediction markets. In other words, gambling sites to determine what the best outcome is. You understand how, like, effed up our country is by gambling? I mean, just as a direct measure of, like, you know, bankruptcies and credit card bills by young people and whatnot. Our entire economy is turning into a casino. Our entire economy. Like, even all the AI stuff on the stock market is basically these just like huge if-come bets.
Yeah, it's a future monopoly bet.
Former leadership in the Democratic Party. Thank God he was voted out. Unfortunately, now we have a douchebag Republican in that seat. Here's Elizabeth Warren continuing on, talking about the fight within the Democratic Party. It is between those predictive market people and their crypto casino stuff. Even that woman, Angie Craig, the congresswoman from Minneapolis, good for her for marching to that ICE facility. Bad for her for sitting with Donald Trump Jr. at a crypto convention, talking about how we need to, make our economy even more based upon highly speculative money making. And here is Elizabeth Warren addressing this attempt, funded literally hundreds of millions of dollars behind the abundance, movement. Here she speaks to that.
So yes, we need more government efficiency, a lot more. But many in the abundance movement are doing little to call out corporate culpability and billionaire influence in creating and defending those very inefficiencies. Instead, abundance has become a rallying cry, not just for a few policy nerds worried about zoning, but for wealthy donors and other corporate-aligned Democrats who are putting big-time muscle behind making Democrats more favorable to big businesses. It looks like the corporate tycoons have found one more way to stop the Democratic Party from tackling a rigged system with too much energy.
I mean, the way she phrases it, it's not just the two nerds worried about local zoning, Ezra Klein. It's the forces behind it that have hijacked it. Or I don't want to say hijacked, because if it was hijacked, you would hear those two nerds say, "Hey, our movement's being hijacked. We just want narrowly tailored, better government efficiency, not running essentially." Interference for wealthy people. Here's Reid Hoffman. I agree with Senator Warren that today's economy is not working for most people. I want to fix this by growing the economy. She wants to grow regulation. Of course, incidentally, the regulation she wanted to grow was the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which has been stripped away. It saved consumers hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars. Her politics shrink the tent. Okay, so now, and this is what Ezra Klein does too. Put this tweet up there. He jumps from the policy prescriptions that she's talking about to the electoral politics. And she's saying her politics shrinks the tent. Actually, no. It changes the tent, maybe.
Yeah. If he's got so many
we need
people...
a bigger, smarter coalition that can beat Trump and deliver.
Run for office, Reid. That's the funny thing about this is Reid Hoffman, for people who don't know, we'll leave the Epstein relationship aside. He made LinkedIn. Like, I'm sorry. Why does he think he has an equal say to a senator from Massachusetts about the future of this country? Run for office. It's because he's made a big bag because our country has lined their pockets. But it's ludicrous. Like take a step back. Go ahead, Reed. Turn out some votes for yourself. Put your name on the ticket.
This is the problem. He when he says it shrinks the tent, it does. First of all, it fundamentally does not shrink the tent. There are more people who are going to benefit from a Consumer Financial Protection Bureau regulation than Reid Hoffman. Than the millionaire. Like the number of people that Reid Hoffman sits around and talks about what should happen with the Democratic Party. Let's put it that way. Every one of those people he talks to are just millionaires, maybe some billionaires.
Even if he invented cold fusion, I would have a problem with him having thinking he has such a say in our politics. You made a resume website at the right time.
Exactly. It's like, I support this by growing the economy. She wants to grow regulation. I want to fix this, he says, by growing the economy. Come on.
Make another website, idiot.
It's such bullshit, but this is the fight. This is the fight that's happening within the Democratic Party. And, the concerning part is that when I looked at 2028, I want to get ahead of ourselves. But we don't have anybody who's going to be carrying this fight that I can see at this moment. There are some things that Ro Khanna has done that I appreciate. But until I hear him answer Emma's question that she asked of him a year and a half ago, maybe it was 2 years ago. It was a year and a half. I can't remember exactly when it was. Will you take any more David Sachs money? And his answer at that time was yes. Good for him for being honest about it. And I know he's promoting this wealth tax in California, and that's good. And it seems like they are offended by it.
Very upset by it.
It seems like it.
Yeah.
That's what we're seeing in public anyways. But we need someone who fundamentally understands that, as Brandeis, I think it was, said, you can have a democracy or you can have this concentration of wealth. Or maybe it was even like Jefferson. Or Benjamin Franklin. I can't remember. But I think Brandeis said something very similar.
Oh, Franklin,
what was the one I wanted to get? Oh, yeah, let's get to the Rogan thing. Do we have that? Yeah. Joe Rogan is out there. He's getting all these, it's so gross. NBC News is like, Joe Rogan questions whether we should be a Nazi state. And he's getting all sorts of accolades for this. And here's the problem. It would be great if Joe Rogan was saying things to his audience that was helpful in this time of galloping fascism. But that's not what he was saying. It is literally surrounded by lies and bullshit and justification for more fascism. And the funny part is that Rand Paul, the sort of give me liberty or give me death guy, this is the guy who's like, where are all the people about the Second Amendment? Isn't the Second Amendment always been for when the government shows up with a bunch of guns?
Rand Paul literally tweeted out, the Second Amendment is not for deer hunting. It's for pointing out the government when it becomes tyrannical.
I mean, is there anything more tyrannical than what we're seeing now on the street? I mean, honestly.
I haven't seen it. I mean, Rogan would say it's vaccine.
No, I know. Rogan says vaccine mandate, and Rand Paul might say the tyranny of being forced to seat black people at the counter.
You're forgetting about the tyranny of CNN and horse paste.
The lack of the complete failure to protect the reputation of ivermectin.
$1 billion Spotify assets.
The tyranny associated with having to pay taxes. Here's Joe Rogan. Here's that extended segment.
Balance to be achieved. I just don't know how it gets done, because I see both perspectives. I see the perspective of the people that say, hey, there was an illegal program moving people in here to get votes, moving people in here to get congressional seats, and we've got to change that. We've got to take those people
Pause it for a second.
Jesus.
It's fascinating because this moron, actually, I really do think he believes what he's saying.
100%.
He's trying to have a balanced view here. On one hand,
I believe some bullshit.
We have a huge cohort of the nation who are changelings, and they are coming in here. On the other hand, people don't want to be treated as if we're living in Nazi Germany.
On the one hand,
there is no program. There has never been a program to have undocumented immigrants into this country to change elections. There is no evidence, particularly in the wake of 2024, that if you allow Latino voters in, because that's what he's talking about, right? Yeah. He's not talking about like, we're going to let in all these Irish people. And we let in Central Americans, Chinese, Somalians, that they're all going to ultimately get citizenship. We have a shitty citizenship program. And then they're going to vote for Democrats 10, 15 years from now. There's no such program. The largest.
That would require a plan.
The largest bestowing of amnesty in this country's history was done by Ronald Reagan. The Republican saint, Ronald Reagan. There is no grand plan. But in his mind, there is. So that's on one side. And the other side, people don't want to be shot in the face and murdered and forced to show their papers. It's tough.
Like
make-believe thing, real thing. But they're both things.
Is there like a giant veil that makes people unable to look at what's going on in the countries that these people come from, like Haiti or Venezuela, like the amount that we are culpable for that sort of outmigration, and the idea that it's just the Democrats saying we need new voters here and not our foreign policy? Like we're at a very like a kindergarten level of thinking here.
It's not even kindergarten. It's so much more dangerous because he has the ability to articulate as if he's almost like a junior high guy.
Yeah.
But with a kindergarten brain. Just go back a little bit so that we don't,
I see both perspectives. I see the perspective of the people that say, hey, there was an illegal program moving people in here to get votes, moving people in here to get congressional seats, and we've got to change that. We've got to take those people that got in and send them back to where they came from or do something, because if we don't, they're going to keep doing it if they get in office again in 2028, and it's going to accelerate. And you're going to have to take away some of the damage that's been done to a true
It's just a white supremacist panic.
I mean, it is, but it's all fictional.
Yeah.
It's all fictional. First of all, it's all fictional. I don't know what else to say. It's like, how do you, I cannot prove that I am not an alien from a different planet. I can't. I can just tell you it's not true.
He did the same thing. He does believe this. He had Stavros Halkias on like 2 years ago. And Stav's like, but like my dad's an immigrant. He can't vote. What are you talking about?
Democratic system, because you've kind of hijacked it, and they kind of have. And then I can also see the point of view of the people that say, yeah, but you don't want militarized people in the streets just roaming around, snatching people up, many of which turn out to actually be U.S. citizens that just don't have their papers on them? Are we really going to be the Gestapo? Where's your papers? Is that what we've come to? So it's more complicated than I think people want to admit.
It is. It is. Listen, it's very complicated, and this guy's got a galaxy-level brain, so he can assess between the totally fictional thing that he's talking about. I mean, just look at the Latino vote in 2024. It's available to everybody. There's a lot of evidence that suggests that a lot of times recent immigrants end up voting more conservatively because they want to be more associated with like the, harsher, more nationalistic party. But also, the time that it takes for you to become a citizen is literally counted in like double digits. But Rand Paul is there, and he's a senator. He knows the truth. And so he's going to correct Joe Rogan, right? Like, this isn't going to be a complete buffet of misinformation brought to you by a massive corporate behemoth, Spotify. They're not going to do that and spread that to how many 20 million people who watch this or whatever it is? That's not going to happen, right? Play it.
So it's more complicated than I think people want to admit. People want to look at this as a black and white issue. If you're a compassionate person or if you're a pragmatic person, and I don't think that's true. I think it's both.
But I think the argument needs to be made again and again, and the left needs to hear that they have created this situation by disobeying the immigration laws, by ignoring the deportation orders, by not reporting people who are committing crimes. Now, we're not talking about some guy mowing lawns. We're talking about somebody who stole a car, somebody who raped somebody. They are in jail. So this isn't the ordinary working person who's here illegally. We're talking about the criminal illegals in our country.
Well, okay, pause it. Okay, first of all, just a blatant lie. But there's two lies here. Like, one is a little bit, you have to tease out a little bit. The first lie being that this enforcement stuff has anything to do with criminals. 70% of the people they're picking up have nothing to do with any criminal activity whatsoever. But the other thing is that there is a complete and total lack of understanding of what a sanctuary city or state is. And he's about to articulate that complete lack of understanding. A sanctuary city or a sanctuary state is simply that, not if you're an immigrant, you get a free pass to steal a car or to rape people or sexual assault or to steal, whatever it is. No.
Because we're woke.
You will get arrested. You will go through the criminal justice system. You can get sent to jail. The only difference is that they will not hand you over to ICE if based upon your immigration status, because if police departments and EMSs and whatnot start to report, and that's all it is, if they start to report when they come in contact with people who are undocumented, then these people will stop reporting crimes that take place. They will stop being good community members. But here he is. He's going to go on this multi-million-dollar, probably billion-dollar platform of Spotify and continue to lie.
Now, we're not talking about some guy mowing lawns. We're talking about somebody who stole a car, somebody who raped somebody. They are in jail. So this isn't the ordinary working person who's here illegally. We're talking about the criminal illegals in our country.
Well, I think most people were in favor of getting rid of gang members, criminals, murderers, rapists. Most people were in favor of getting rid of those people.
Pause it. I got news for you. Most people, I would say probably everybody.
What the previous administrations have been emphasizing.
Literally, that is what the Obama administration, when it deported more people than any time that we have had prior to that, was doing. But it's exactly what the operations of ICE were doing.
One other thing this does is when it removes it into it puts it into a purely political realm when these people are being exploited for the labor that they do. And even JD Vance was saying, look at how bad it is that these people take jobs. It's like Trump does that too. You're not going after bosses for this. You're just going after delivery drivers.
Is that the left-wing cities that are sanctuary cities are not reporting that. That's part of the reason why ICE is in Minnesota.
And a good
is the
example
local
of
people
that
are
is
resisting.
Aurora, right? Aurora, Colorado, where Trent
Exactly.
Dogwell was taking over apartment buildings and they were a sanctuary city. So
Right.
the police literally could do nothing about it, which is just
right.
Okay, yeah.
pure insanity.
Yeah. First off, what's really insane is that you think that the police couldn't do anything about it. The local police could do everything about it. It is literally what their job is. They don't say like, well, it's undocumented immigrants, so we don't have police authority here. That's not the way it works. Secondly, Aurora is not a sanctuary city. I don't know what to tell them. Colorado State has some statewide rules, but Aurora is less sanctuary-y than other places in Colorado. I mean, this is what it is to have real big success. That's when like you get big enough where not only do you not have to do the work, it doesn't matter.
And they still will quote you about are we going to become the Gestapo, dude? We've got to do something. I
Good
know.
stuff. But it's,
Is Rogan
it's
waking
tricky.
up?
On one hand, we have half the country who are pro-rape and pro-killing. On the other hand, people are like, well, maybe we don't want to have like our citizens shot in the face. Just go ahead a little more.
a lot of problems.
But we solved at least half of them today,
I think we did.
right?
Rand, thank you so much. I've been a big
fan since back when I started thinking that aliens were living in Mount Shasta.
Yeah, thanks, Libertarian. All the way. And next week, Peter Thiel's coming back on for the 5th time to talk about the Antichrist and stuff.
Bingo dango. I just watched ICE driving a fire ladder truck to launch a raid on some roofers, not the everyday working man. My ass.
The insistence on that lie, because it's all over the DHS won't boast about kidnapping people who are just on like a roof, regardless of their immigration status. It's always, look at this violent person. And yet, what do we see every day?
I don't know. Yeah. This is apropos. We'll just do this and I'll read some IMs. Oh, let's also do 27 too. But let's start with this. Just briefly, look, one of my favorite newscasts is CBS News because Tony Dokapol only talks to real world people outside of the president and Machado from Venezuela and Marco Rubio, and except for all of the high level government officials, he only talks and gets information from real people.
Like Jerry Jones and
Listen,
Machado.
It's all about getting in touch with the real American spirit. And apparently, according to Prem Thakur over at The Intercept, also a great reporter.
I believe Prem's now at Zateo, yep.
Oh, it's Zateo. Excuse me. Sorry. It's Zateo. There's a lot of people at CBS who are a little bit upset about what's happening over there.
Oh, their dignity is being put up a flagpole.
And guess what, folks? Friday nights, you got to tune in to Tony Dokapol's show because CBS Evening News becomes Whiskey Fridays with Tony Dokapol. And I can imagine.
Oh, wait. Is this Prem getting us with a little mock-up here?
Yeah, this is that is a mock-up, but that's not real. But it is a new segment called Whiskey Fridays. Staff were only made aware of this when they encountered CBS testing set designs of a faux stocked bar in the newsroom featuring a large sponsor banner for Jack Daniels. So, I mean, this is a version, and frankly, you know, if that's what you're going to do, it's rather tasteful.
Daily Wire asked idea.
But they are integrating sponsorship from a liquor company. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when you weren't even allowed to advertise liquor on TV. They're integrating the sponsorship banner into the newsroom. Now, you know, to be fair, we all could use a drink. And I'm sure that...
Is this his monologue?
Sunset Lake CBS.
And exactly. I'm sure it's just a coincidence that there has been a huge lobbying push to up the amount of alcohol that people drink because so many people have been dropping off, and that, in fact, they got Mitch McConnell to undermine the ability for people to have like 1 gram of THC you know, in their Seder products, as it were. But just a reminder, Donald Trump admits that if it wasn't for Donald Trump, Tony Dokapol would still be doing maybe the morning show, if that. Here he is, Tony Dokapol, talking to the average guy to get the average guy's sense of what's happening in the country.
Tony, we have now the hottest country in the world, and a year and a half ago, our country was dead. We had a dead country. You wouldn't have a job right now. If she got in, you probably wouldn't have a job right now. Your boss, who's an amazing guy, might be bust, okay?
Might be
That's
what?
how bad. Might be bust. I doubt it in his case, but you'd never know. Tony, we have now...
Oh, wait, do we not see the rest of it? Oh, you got to get the rest of it. Oh, there's more because...
Does he think Barry is a guy?
Huh? No, he's talking about Ellison. He's talking about Ellison, who he thinks might be, he might be bankrupt if it wasn't, because it's quite possible, one could hope, that Harris would have maintained a antitrust regime that would have prevented the Skyhorse, is it? Skydance from purchasing Paramount. But here's, you got to see the end of it because Dokapol strikes back. He's not going to let this is the only pushback. And so this is like the biggest pushback that he gave for the entire interview. Go ahead.
Hottest country in the world. Tony, we have now the hottest country in the world, and a year and a half ago, our country was dead. We had a dead country. You wouldn't have a job right now. If she got in, you probably wouldn't have a job right now. Your boss, who's an amazing guy, might be bust, okay?
Might be
That's
what?
how bad. Might be bust. I doubt it in his case, but you'd never know. Let me just tell you, you wouldn't have this job. You wouldn't have this job, certainly whatever the hell they're paying you.
He's
Our
lost.
country is rocketing right now. We have the hottest country in the world. If they got in, we would be Venezuela on steroids.
Mr. President, I'm just trying to be fair here, just trying to do my job, and I want to talk about this assembly line here.
To me, it's vibrant. Listen to the sound.
It's incredible, right?
I love the sound of an assembly line.
It's incredible.
I can't watch this anymore. But apparently, at the end of the interview, Dokapol says, "I got to tell you, I think I would have had this job." And he goes, "No, you wouldn't." And then Dokapol cuts back to the studio and he laughs about it because it's funny.
Just some locker room talk.
Just talking to the average guy and, you know, joshing around with him.
Listen how
From here, they just idled the electric vehicle plant.
Well, yeah, but it's going to gasoline vehicles.
Yeah, it's going to go to gasoline.
Well, but why don't you say that, Tony? You can't say.
You didn't give me a chance. I'm coming
Sorry,
there.
I
You didn't give me a
I didn't
chance.
have it here. I got to find it.
You didn't give me a chance. I was gonna, but believe me,
I'm sorry.
sir, what do you think I'm doing here? I got these buckets. I'm carrying your water. I'm sorry, it wasn't quick enough.
You want me to shine your shoes real quick?
Here it is.
Because I want to see what's good for our country. And you know what? The courts want to see that too.
Mr. President, thank you very much. For the record, I do think I'd have this job, even if the other guys won.
Yeah, but at a lesser salary. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Tony, hold on. Let me just take a crap on your face one more time before we go, okay?
Now, stay tuned for the commercials.
Yeah. Tony, I just think that you haven't defaced yourself quite enough over the past week and a half.
So I hear they're calling you Tony Two Cuts. What's that about?
This is honestly this whole the whole thing has been just this humiliation ritual. It's really weird.
He's like a mascot for how bad we in the state we are in right now.
That is, yes. Assuming we get to the other side of this in 50 years, you sort of feel like this could be a metaphor. It feels like whoever is the Rick Perlstein, in 70 years will be like, this exchange and this 2 weeks of the new CBS anchor, as opposed to Walter Cronkite, gives a perfect example where the country found itself in.
He's just gonna be hammered every Friday.
I mean,
there's also Whiskey Thursdays.
We're completely high Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays.
Blackout Monday.
Exactly. Oh boy. Shoot. Well, maybe we'll do the Harry Enton polling later. Interesting. I don't know what to make of that. And I think they wrapped that up with a Kalshi thing, honestly.
Oh my God.
Everything is so effed.
Even people who should know better have no clue.
Oh, he knows, but come on.
Well, Enton probably does, but the people who are, there used to be at least some kind of restraint, I thought, but.
Yeah. Emma Jordy Enthusiast says, that's some great Adam Curtis footage. That guy, how do I go long on Adam Curtis? Because every day he just must be like, whoa, wow, whoa.
Yeah.
Jay Prey To Pesci, I would up my subscription price for a weekly high show. I don't know if we could recover.
Deal.
I'll let you know privately when they are.
I was gonna say that's the Matt Leck level of subscriber.
Check out Thursday, maybe.
All right, let's. I'm gonna read some IMs. We got to get out of here. Boy, we didn't even get to the worst of the fucking ICE stuff too. Well,
there'll be more.
There'll be more. We'll save those. Save those for Friday too. Just the brutality of ICE, and they just seem to be completely unchained.
How about a little 40-second palate cleanser here? Zoran's got an announcement about pre-K.
Sweet. Let's do it.
Good morning, New York. It's a great day to learn, no matter your age. Last week, we announced we won more than $100 million in new funding to make 3K truly universal. And today, it's a great day to sign up. If your child is turning either 3 or 4 this year, you can enroll them for the fall in 3 easy ways. First, you can go to myschools.nyc. That's the easiest way to apply.
Well, there you go. I think people can. You can look that up if you're have a kid.
It's just so. Aside from obviously the how dramatic, what a dramatic improvement it is for the life of parents who have a 3-year-old going. Just the material implications of this. When Saul was headed into the last year of pre-K, we went to a co-op, so we work a little bit, but it was I think it was completely free. Whereas the year before, it had been $13,000. Maybe it was 10 because it was a co-op, but most people are paying $15,000, something like that. It had a huge impact. Huge impact. And this is going to have a huge impact on people, but also they're making it easy to sign up. They're doing everything they can to promote how you can sign up for it. So it's not just there so that he gets political credit for it in some way, but it's actually something that is meant to be used and engaged with. And also he's doing it in a way like de Blasio's biggest failure in my estimation regarding that was they never talked about it. It was an amazing program that de Blasio did. He never talked about it. You'd never heard about it. It's completely just taken for granted. It had no impact on people's understanding of their relationship with government. And so everything that he does, and again, one of the best things he's got going for him as a politician in terms of people critiquing him is this is basically it. There's no job he's angling for as mayor. Maybe he could go on to be governor. Maybe he could go on to be senator. Maybe. But this is the biggest job he's ever going to have. He can't be president. And this is it. And so all of this, all of the goodwill that he creates, all of the benefits that he provides through the city, they are attributed to the city. People's perspective on government changes. That's what the dynamic is here. So it's fantastic. Kill Kim. Apparently the guy who heckled him got suspended. I already read that. Militant apathy. People should just carry around tent poles to his speeches and troll him. Oh, that's Trump. Silly science people. Please remind people to go to icerrt.com to get a breakdown of groups that you can join to help deal with ICE. It is. Let's put this in the podcast and YouTube description. icerrt.com. Holtenheim. To be fair to Tom Homan, he does sound like he needs to keep as much air for himself as he possibly can. This is important. Ken Klippenstein should make his avatar mascot a Frankenstein version of the old Microsoft helper Clippy. Crank my hog, okay? DHS is now saying that Jonathan Russ suffered internal bleeding.
Uh-huh.
You know who else is reporting that? CBS News.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Yeah, they were first with two sources they were briefed by.
Internal bleeding from what? Hitting himself so hard in the head, damn it. Why did I do that? Why didn't I stay in front of the car? Exactly. Iowa Ryan. Donroe doctrine is so embarrassing. I'm not violent, but how good would it feel to slap the orange off his face in front of his wife? Big Marty. Oh, Ken Klippenstein. I broke my arm. Okay. I had Big Marty there somewhere. I can't find it. Let's see. Dave from Jamaica. I am deeply frustrated by folks who defend Rogan. Rogan is dumb, but not that dumb. He is doing rat behavior by jumping ship. I also hate that government that Joe Rogan represents the average man. Wolfie. Matt needs to look up Sasha Riley. William Sasha Riley. Okay. Nate in the Great. I'm sorry, but as a Canadian, I can't let this slide. His name is Colin Moshri, not Moriarty. I don't even know what that refers to.
Colin Mockery.
Pancake. Is it ironic to say Tom Homan is spelled like one of his ancestors would say the word human for the first time?
I'm actually not a human. I'm a homer.
M. If an undocumented immigrant commits a crime in America, I don't want them black bagged and deported. I want them tried by the local court where they committed the crime. Eric from Montana. I am stocked up on 44 Magnum, 9mm, 270, and 12 gauge buckshot. I bought it for deer, elk, and bear, and I'm not convinced it'll be very useful in a chaotic civil war against mass surveillance state that has murder drones. California Resistance. Sam, where can we send Ross flowers? Old Chomsky. Rogan has always been an a-hole and an idiot, even before he started smoking weed. He used to bully the women on the set of the news radio until they cried, and I have very, very firsthand eyewitness corroboration of this. That does not surprise me. Congressional baseball fan. Folks, cooking with gas is the new Dr. Mesmer census of the 1860 rect for 2026. Get ready to hear this phrase a lot. Love you, Sam. All right, two more. Snarkorsky. Ross had internal bleeding from an ulcer from all the hate crimes seething to get out. And the final I am of the day. Ryan from Florida. I pray for a day when this Elmer Fudd-looking a-hole Tom Homan is brought to justice. Indeed. Brian, Matt, Emma in absentia. Good job today. Folks, see you tomorrow.
It might take all the strength I got to get to where I want, but I know somehow I'm gonna get there. I wasn't looking when I just got caught between the truth and the lie bar, but finding out won't make me feel any better. Yeah, I know the clock is ticking, but the meds are gonna kick in, and my pilot light shining bright. I get somewhere the choice was made,